step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom, I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with, giving my blood so I am relentless.
All right, this is the Keep Hammering Collective special edition from the road with Joe Rogan. I don't know, some of you may have heard of him, and Adam Greentree from down under.
Everyone knows me already.
And we're in elk camp in Utah, northern Utah, and what a crazy few days we've had.
Perfect week.
It's been, I was saying earlier that if you'd have scripted before the hunt, the perfect hunt for us, just us three, where there's more people here hunting, but just for us three, we would have scripted, if we would have read the script, we said, I would take that. That sounds like a dream trip.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, that would be a dream. We've just lived the dream.
Let's start it off at the beginning.
Okay.
Adam says, I'm going to hold out. I don't want, I want this hunt to last. And he shoots an elk like in the first hour.
Yeah.
How long were you hunting for?
He said it's going to be a couple days for sure.
Yeah, for sure, mate. I'm keen on this hunt.
He's killed a couple 350 bulls, which are big. And I was thinking, we heard something on the radio the first evening, and I'm like,
Adam killed.
yeah, what was that?
A different Adam with an Australian accent up in the mountains.
Well, that holding out didn't last too long.
It lasted an hour.
It's such an amazing place that I already got to look through bulls. It was about 2.5 hours of hunting, and we already looked over maybe 8 bulls.
Wow.
And he was the only bull that we could hear that was in a herd, but he sounded like heaps deeper and grunty and just, I don't know, you can't tell him like that, right?
Yeah.
But he did sound more mature, and at least that's where my mind ran to. And then there was cows down there talking as well. So he sort of, that sort of gave it away. Okay, there's the herd bull. This was just all the satellites that were looking around and calling up to us that were around him. And I actually said to you, like, how you just get caught in the moment. It's like, I'm only going to shoot something if it's like, the last of the hunt, and it's the biggest animal you've seen. And it's like, but then sometimes you just get caught in the moment.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you try and shoot something if you're caught in that moment? Because they're all the feelings that we're all chasing. And then
Also, it was an awesome bull.
Oh,
yeah.
How could you pass up on that
It was
bull?
an
Imagine
old, mature bull, 10 years old or 11 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was a herd bull, dark horn, heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a trophy for anybody.
We tried to call it. So I got to experience that, and other bulls coming in around it and stuff like that. Then he wouldn't leave the herd. So then I got to stalk it. And then I couldn't get any closer because the cows were above me. So then I got to ambush it when his cows eventually came past. So it's like I got to do all the cool hunts and then...
one.
Yeah, perfect shot. Like, yeah.
Oh, and to see it go down on film, I know you put up a clip of that on your Instagram, and it just shows how lethal an arrow can be, because really the bull didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
The cows were running by. He maybe thought he got jabbed by another bull potentially. They're physical, aggressive animals. This is aggressive time of year. And I always think that his blood pressure drops from the hemorrhaging, and basically he's passing out and dies. And it looks like the perfect, merciful death that we're all seeking as bow hunters is how I see it.
It was absolutely beautiful, It's like, that's what we all strive for, and actually have that happen right in front of you was incredible. And then I was already like, this will be so cool, because now I've got time to like hang out with you and hang out with Joe and, you guys hunting and stuff like that, and just do the whole camp thing. Obviously, usually solo hunting, and, I don't sort of have that friendship to sort of enjoy in camp and stuff like that. So no regrets.
so many laughs. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
It was such a fun week.
Yeah, this has been the first time you've hunted with Adam, right?
Well, we hunted Lanai.
Oh, and Lanai.
What was the other place? Oh, yeah, that's right. Alberta and Lanai.
We all were.
Yeah.
This dude that I had no idea who he was hopped off the plane. He missed his first flight, and then he hopped off, and I'm like, good one, buddy, to make us late. And Joe didn't know who I was, so he was just like, just kept walking past me.
Yeah.
And then, that was cool.
Now we're besties.
I'm very glad I crossed paths with you, brother.
Me too.
Yeah. This has been incredible. I mean, and we've hunted buffalo together in Australia before. Of course, been in bear camp together. And now that you reminded me, Lanai, we all killed bucks there.
Buffalo hunted twice together.
The night
Yellow hunted.
was the dream team.
No, that was
I
incredible.
mean, we had Remy Warren, Shane Dorian, Cameron Haynes. Who else was there? John Dudley. Who else? Ben O'Brien. Who else?
You, me, and
That's it.
There was that big group shot.
Oh, it's an amazing shot.
I'm trying to think. I don't want to. There was a guy called Will there as well. Remember Will?
Will?
Yeah. He didn't kill, so we kicked him out of the dream team.
I think
He didn't make the cut.
didn't Sam Soholt take the picture?
That's right. Sam Solot was there too.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's awesome. I love Sam. That's right.
Cameraman. Heaps better.
Mike,
And then we had that
good for one
podcast
thing.
from Paradise.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did a podcast from Paradise in my hotel room.
Yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
did I?
No,
You didn't
I
know.
missed that. No.
You weren't in that one?
No.
Ah, you didn't go in it. That's right. It was Dudley, Sam, you, me, and Remy, right?
I can't.
Oh, that was.
I don't remember. We got hammered. Remember we came up with that cat lady drink?
You guys
So
said
we
you were going to
raided my
bed.
mini bar, and we started pouring everything into glasses, and we came up with a drink called the Cat Lady.
wasn't a part of that.
Do you weren't a part of that one? Okay. Well,
I have heard of the cat lady, so it must have been pretty good.
you probably weren't in the podcast during that time. I think you were hunting with Kimmy. That's what was going on.
Yeah.
I think that's what was going on. I think
Adam
we took
doesn't
a break.
drink. Did you know this?
Oh, that's right. I know he doesn't drink. You know, we forgot about that.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get cake and I blend it down and just drink cake.
The first time I met Adam, I think it was the first time, and I don't know, did Under Armour help set that up or Hoyt?
I think Hoyt set that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was standing in the airport, I think in Sydney, with a sign that said Cam Haynes with a buffalo drawn on it. Like, you know how they have, like, if you get in a car, they
Yeah,
have
like a
your name on
greeter.
it? Yeah. Yeah. So that, and he had his mohawk.
But
Yeah. That was pretty epic.
I remember the mohawk though.
I remember the sign because I still have the picture. It was sick.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been, and I don't really know how you ended up here because we were trying to get this set up, and you know, it's hard to hunt this place.
I know how I ended up here. Both of you felt really sorry for me last year.
Oh, after
I know how.
30, how?
Because Rick Wood had an extra tag. And so Rick Wood texts me and he says, do you know anybody who wants to hunt?
Oh,
And
Thank
I
you,
said,
Rick
oh
Wood
yeah,
and Joe
I got a
Rogan.
guy named Adam Greentree from Australia that goes on these bullshit hunts where he
Yeah,
gets
but-
mauled by grizzly bears and fucking
Right.
hangs out in the woods for a month.
but a couple of months prior, we were trying to get him in, and they were full,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. So when Rick said that he had an opening,
Yeah.
called Adam. We hooked it up.
Well, I appreciate it like you'll probably never understand.
Oh,
I seriously do. I really
It's perfect.
Yeah.
so tell me, now you've experienced this. You've experienced the grinded out 32 days on public land. Did you see one elk?
I seen one elk and I got it killed, and then I felt bad because it does at that point when you've gone that long and you see one bull and then you kill it. That doesn't seem like conservation hunting.
Right.
And I'm not saying there's not a thousands more out there. I'm sure
Yeah.
there is, but it sort of doesn't feel right at that point, you know. And Kimmy left camp on day 13. She was grinding it out too, and she was the same. She's like, I won't feel right in shooting an elk in here because we're not seeing any. You know, and it's like, and yeah, so, but to come here and see big, healthy populations, you know, my experience in doing that backcountry stuff, the experience is just testing, but it's not you don't get all the highlights of like hearing bulls bugle and like, I heard antlers clashing on that first afternoon. There was bulls bugling. You could hear them like running down through the forest, like the herd bull chasing off the satellites coming up, getting the call bulls in. It's just like, I've missed all that, you know, and I've actually forgotten how good that side of things is, you know, and it is nice grinding it out. Like you're the veteran of it, right? You know, so you know that part of grinding it out, but it's getting harder and harder. And now that there's less and less over the counter, it's even harder again. So like Colorado last year is only one of the only states I had over the counter. So it was just jam packed with hunters, you know. And it seemed like when I first started elk hunting, you just hiked 6-7 miles back and you're away from the crowds. And one place last year, I was 20 something miles back and thinking I've got this part of the ridgeline to myself, and there's 2 other tents set up right on the ridgeline, and I'm bumping in the hunters the whole way.
Whoa.
So it's like elk hunting's hard enough without throwing all that in, right?
Yeah,
So, and now that I've experienced this, like I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone, and I've already proved to myself that grinding out bit. So this has wrecked me. Like I don't think I can go back to that.
Nice. It's I get the test, I get the proving because
You've done it.
I've done it, but that's the only choice I had. So it was like I didn't have money to do anything, so I just was trying to make the best of what. And Oregon isn't known for being great elk hunting, right? Yeah. That's where I lived, and just like you, I never had to hunt 32 straight days. I think I went 6 days without seeing an elk before, though, and wondered what I was doing, and they killed a bull on the 7th day. So it's similar, and the accomplishment feels amazing. But when you've done it, and then you have other options because you worked harder in life, like how Joe's sacrificed in other areas of his life, he doesn't have to sacrifice on shitty public land hunting. You know, if you have other options, that's what you do. I didn't have another option personally, but I get the testing, I get all that, I get the challenge, but what are we here for? To hunt elk.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to see elk, and this is managed like, it'd be amazing if public land could be managed like this. It'd be limiting too many tags. And you mentioned Colorado. I want to talk about this because I feel like Colorado went after making money and put that above hunters because they're getting all this non-resident tag sales, which are expensive, you know, for a non-resident, and they're overselling, jamming people in there, probably over harvesting if the truth is known. And so who wins in that situation?
No one.
I guess Fish and Game got more money, but the hunters don't win, the elk don't win. So they've corrected that. I think next year now non-resident is draw. It's not over the counter anymore, which is good because I think the residents of the state should have an advantage and have more opportunities over non-residents personally. You know, I mean, there has to be some benefit to living there.
Yeah, definitely.
So I would, you know, a long-winded answer to say, my dream would be for everybody to have quality elk hunting. My dream would be for everybody to experience something like we've experienced here. Is that possible? I don't know, but we've lived the dream this week. That's all I know. And it would be incredible if other people could experience something similar.
Yeah, you can't run around in life hoping everybody gets the same thing. That's literally communism. It's like equality of outcome.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. You can get and do the best things that you can do with whatever circumstances you have. And if you don't have the ability to come to a place like this, you know, there's places you can go that are really good, but there's no place that you're going to go that's like this because these people spend a lot of money to make it like this. That's why the tags are expensive. Ultimately, though, what you're getting is wild animals that aren't perturbed by humans. And the problem, like anybody that can hunt like you do and do a public land hunt for 32 days and finally kill an elk has every hunter's respect. It's an incredible accomplishment. But the reason why that exists like that is because of overhunting and pressure. Wild animals are supposed to be wild. They're supposed to not be thinking about people. They're not supposed to be like constantly scared of bugling because they hear fake bugles everywhere and seeing tents everywhere and people don't know what they're doing, winding, you know, getting winded. This is like the dream, right? To be able to come to a place like this. Not everybody's going to get the dream. Yeah. You just got to appreciate what we can.
Yes.
What we've done.
And it's, so you could go so far as to say not everybody could have 32 days to hunt like you did. Yeah. So it's like, is that fair to people who only have a week? So what are you supposed to do? Only hunt a week? Because
a lot of people only have weekends.
Yes, because certain people couldn't dedicate that much time. Life is not fair. We're in different positions in our life because of choices we've made. Now, when it comes to hunting, I agree with Joe. It's like these elk are acting natural. They're acting like wild elk are designed to act. You know, not being pressured by humans all the time. So Yeah, it's just a privilege to be able to, like I said, I wish everybody could, but that's just not real.
Well, the thing is, like, you always feel like you have to defend it against people that are upset that they can't do it.
Yeah.
That's your T-shirt.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
It must be nice. Yeah.
That's really what it is. That's with the conversation we're having right now. The reason why we're having it this way, instead of just celebrating how awesome the hunting is because not everybody gets to do this. But not everybody gets to drive that truck you drove here. Not everybody gets to have a job like you have. Not everybody not everybody runs 300-mile races. It's like there's not a quality of effort in this world either.
Right.
And everybody, the idea of a quality of outcome is ridiculous because we don't have a quality of effort. And some people, they just excel. They go further, they push harder, they make more things happen in their life. And because of that, opportunities open up that don't open up for everybody. And that's unfortunate for you if that's not opening up for you, but that's just the way the world works. And you should strive to one day be able to do that. That's it.
I want to talk about something. We got beat up for a statement that we made. I don't even know if we were serious or whatever, but do you remember that find another trailhead stupid?
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's what people are writing on my
God,
post, and I
know.
I don't know what the reference is. I missed it.
We're just being funny.
We're kind of being funny.
Kind of, but also go to a place where there aren't everybody.
When everybody knows I hunted the wilderness in Oregon. That's what I was known for. I wrote a book on backcountry bow hunting, which still sells. It's whatever. It's just the tactics that I use to get away from people. If I went to a trailhead in the wilderness and it was jam-packed with cars and horse trailers, and I was just like, I'm not going here. It feels to me like that would be stupid to go where a million other people were. So all Joe said, like in jest, if you get there, find another trailhead, stupid. It's not.
That was me last year. And they were all jam-packed.
Yeah.
And it is so disheartening.
So and that's the point, because people are disheartened because of everybody wants to be an elk hunter. I get it. Everybody, and tags were unlimited there. Or non-resident tags as far as I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was probably super frustrating. And I'm not trying to discount that, because I know when that's the only option I had, that was my life. How do I get away from people? And if I couldn't, it killed me. So we're not dismissing how that feels and how that sucks. That wasn't what the comment was, finding a trailhead stupid. It was just like, that's what I did. When I went, I would try to find, how do I get away from people?
Yeah.
Also, it's called talking shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You're talking shit. You're like, find our trailhead, stupid. It's talking shit.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like you say things. It's like, do you really mean that? Well, it's unfortunate if you go to a place there's a bunch of hunters, but you know what's worse? When there's no one hunting because you can't hunt, because they've changed the laws, because there weren't enough hunters to vote.
Right.
And California is on its way to being that. Like, people are upset that because you've become very popular and you become popular on social media, and because of my podcast, I talk about elk hunting, more people want to elk hunt. Guess what? That is way better than less people doing it. To have too many people that are on your side and understand what you love to do, and too many people that are trying it, to have too many of that is a good thing. It might not be a good thing for the weekend that you chose to go to a particular place because there's a lot of people going there. But the last thing you want is no one else hunting. That is the last thing you want. Because try explaining to even people we meet who've never considered hunting that you love hunting. And they look at you sideways like you're some kind of monster, because they've been indoctrinated by movies and cartoons. Like in movies, the hunters are always the assholes. Like in the movie Wolverine, the hunters are the assholes and Wolverine kicks their ass, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the stereotypical So the only way to combat that is to have more people understand hunting. The only way to have more people understand hunting is two things. One, podcasts where people talk about hunting, especially ones like mine that cater to a lot of different subjects. And then more people hunting.
Yeah.
Those are the only ways.
More people understand. Just what you've done is you've educated a lot of non-hunters on why hunting is a lifestyle that people enjoy, and why it's important, and why, what you get out of it, and the rewards from hunting. They might never hunt, but now they're understanding a different aspect of hunting.
Exactly.
That different from what they're seeing in Hollywood, where the hunters are the redneck retards.
Right. Exactly.
rape. I think they raped a girl in maybe that movie or tried to or something like that. So
Right.
that's the hunting image that Hollywood tries to get out. You're offsetting that with having discussions like this. And it's like, well, maybe hunters aren't all dipshits.
Also, when we show the food we're cooking.
Right.
Like when we cooked up Adam's backstraps tonight.
Yeah.
Sensational. Traeger brought us over in Ironwood. Thanks, Traeger.
Thank you.
They hooked us up. And we cooked it. It took about an hour and a half, nice and slow. And then we seared it on a cast iron pan and had to clear the whole building out because the vet sucks.
Yeah.
But man, was it good.
Oh my God.
Smelled so good.
Oh, it was so good. So delicious. But also like so satisfying. Like you shot that elk 2 days ago with your bow. And here we are all enjoying it. We're all eating it. And it's the finest protein that's available to human beings.
I feel better already. I mean, we ate elk pretty much all day, it seems like.
Bro, I started eating it. I'm like, I feel energized, like almost
Going
immediately.
down, it's incredible.
It's just so filled with vitamins and protein. Your body, like, immediately is like, oh, yeah, more of this.
I think when you show everything else in bow hunting as well, you know, like, so when there was just magazines, you just pick up a magazine, it was just kill shot, kill shot, kill shot. So anyone seeing that's on the outside just thinks that's what it is. But then, you know, obviously you show a much clearer picture, and you do too, because it's so documented, and I try and do the best that I can where you show everything else. And I think a lot of respect comes from the public when you show that, because they can see that it's just not kill. It's just not bloodthirsty. There's so much more to it. There's so much more to it, to the point that it's your life.
Yeah.
You know?
It's, and I think one part of this trip that I know we're going to, you know, we got some great photos and video from this hunt, but one part that I really enjoyed is, yes, we're shooting arrows out here, getting ready. We all three made great kill shots, you know, merciful kills on these animals. But then also the processing the bulls and packing the bulls out of the mountains and all of it.
Yeah.
Like every aspect of that, we all were involved and enjoyed, you know, and it's work.
Yeah.
These are, you know, you can say whatever you want about hunting a place like this. These mountains are real, you know, it's a grind out there. It's steep.
Thank God you guys were there to help me pack out, because where we shot that elk was the steepest.
Yeah, it was steep.
That was ridiculous. What a great photo that is that you put on your Instagram.
Yeah,
today.
Us packing.
All of us packing out. Oh,
that was
incredible.
So, I mean, I could see, and I've said this before, I mean, if I wasn't me, I'd probably hate me. You know what I mean? Because I would look at that picture and there's FOMO a little bit, because you're looking at that and you're like, motherfucker, these guys are killing bulls. They're working hard together. They're enjoying the fruits of their labor. They're, you know, there's something about sacrificing with other men that it means so much. And if I wasn't involved and I saw that, I would a little bit in my head go, I'm missing that. Yeah. I wish I had that, you know? So I get it, but for us to be involved in it, it's so rewarding. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if we're trying to talk everybody into experiencing it. Not really, but just wanted you to understand how powerful and what a brotherhood like solidified in something like this, how important it is.
Yeah.
To me, it's everything.
Yeah. And like, again, this kind of place is not a place everybody can experience, but there's a lot of things everybody can't do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how the world works.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But the way animals are supposed to exist is exactly how this place is. Like, this isn't a canned hunt. These are real wild animals in the real mountains, and it's a real struggle.
There's big
mountain lions here.
Yeah, there's it's, you know, it's low fence. It's not high fence. It's not whatever anybody wants to say. It's just very well managed. You know, and they take.
And we still could have all gone home empty-handed.
Oh
well, a lot of guys
do.
Yeah,
a lot of guys do. I mean.
We already know about that this week.
We've just lived the dream hunt right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, people might see this and say, oh, 3 for 3, all great bulls. And like, is it easy? No, it's not fucking easy. We just had the perfect hunt. But there's a lot of people hunt the same country that don't take a bull home.
Yeah.
Especially bow hunters.
Yeah. Like, as you'd know, like, you can grind it out in the back country and come across a rut, like just bulls bugling, just going.
Yeah.
You just need that herd bull and the herd there, you know. And I have found that in previous years, but it's a lot to get to that, or a little bit of luck coming your way.
Yeah. I've been in a rut fest like today before, I remember a specific time is Spin Stone in the Eagle Cap, and it was bulls going crazy, and they're so distracted because there is a herd bull and there's satellite bulls challenging and coming in. I have experienced something like this. It's rare, but it happens, and like for my hunting journey is like, to me, I used to hunt elk close to my home. I could, 20 miles. Then I went to the Eagle Cap, which is 8 hours away. And that was a little bit better hunting. Hard, but a little better. And then I was like, well, shit, maybe I could hunt Wyoming. Wyoming public land, which is like 10 times better than Oregon. So that's what people do. They keep working and getting to better opportunities. That's how life works, right? You're like, oh, if I work a little harder, maybe I could, instead of drive 8 hours to Eastern Oregon, I could drive to Wyoming, put in $1,000 for a premium draw tag. And if I get lucky, then I could kill a bull on public land in Wyoming, way better hunting. And I did. I killed 6x6, 6x7. So that's how life works.
Yeah.
You sacrifice, you work, you grind it out, and you keep finding better and better opportunities. And now I feel like my whole life has been designed to find the best elk hunting in the world. And that led me here. That led me to San Carlos. That led me to, where I hunt Roosevelt in Oregon. Am I supposed to apologize for that?
And why wouldn't you?
That's been my dream my whole
go and hunt
fucking life.
There's heaps of elk.
But again, we're only having the conversation this way because of criticism.
Yeah.
It must be nice.
Yeah.
It's all FOMO. And it is nice.
Yeah, it is really nice.
Yeah, work hard. Work hard, kick ass. Go out there and make your dreams come true, kids.
It's so nice.
Hey,
it is nice.
Tell me about your kill.
So
Adam said he experienced like all three aspects of different tactics for elk hunting in one hunt. I think you're trying to justify killing that bull the first night, but that's okay. Tell me about your experience.
Well, we got into this very, very, very steep canyon, and it takes like an hour to get to the top of this ridge.
Shout out to Colton Hayward.
Colton is an animal.
Yeah.
He's an animal. Yeah. And I trained for this. Like, I got ready for this. I did tons of cardio and body weight squats and box jumps, and I did everything to get my legs ready because I knew we were going to do this. Yeah. Like, I count down the months. Like, when November rolls around, I start thinking about December, and then I start thinking about January, February, March, April, May, June. Then June comes around, like, oh, we're a couple months away. July, August. And then when September rolls around, like when I was doing my comedy special, I was reluctant to do it because it was August 3rd. And I was like, I got to make sure I get my practice in. Right. Like, how am I going to get my practice in when I'm doing stand-up every night? Because I'm getting ready for my comedy special. I'm like, all right, I got to figure out a time to get up in the morning and shoot arrows every morning, do all my cardio, do all this, and do all that. You get ready for it. So it was a hustle. It was a real grind to make those miles through the mountains and up these crazy ridges to get to where we were. But we got into a wild rut fest.
Were you prepared? Did you feel like you were prepared from all that work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. My legs were very strong. It was, the cardio is crazy because it's like, no matter what you prepare for, you're not preparing, unless you live at 7,700 feet above sea level, you're not prepared for the altitude. And the altitude is nuts. So, you get winded. But my legs were strong. I was fit. I was ready. And I was shooting every day. All hours every day in the sun. In Texas, I'd take a 64-ounce jug of water and electrolytes and shoot in the sun at 105 degrees until my pants were soaked. Like, it looks like I jumped in the pool. And my shirt, like my daughter, like, she's like, what did you do? Because I was soaked with sweat. She's like, ew, get away from me. She was laughing at me because it looked like I fell in the pool because I was just out in the sun all day. And I was doing it every day.
Montana Knife Company was founded by Josh Smith, one of the world's most experienced master bladesmiths. Josh has been making knives for 30 years, and there's something really special in supporting companies that are made in the USA. The blades are manufactured and shipping straight from Montana. Montana knives carry a multi-generational warranty and free lifetime sharpening. They're designed, tested, and built by hunters. MKC is a hunting knife company first and foremost. MKC is unmatched and have the sharpest knives out of the box and the easiest knives to sharpen. It's been really fun to watch a company explode as one of the fastest growing companies in the knife space. Don't be fooled. They're still a small company and just hired their 55th employee and are looking to hire about 50 more in the next year or so. So if you live in Montana, tell them Cam sent you. MKC knives sell out within minutes of being released. So head over to montanaknifecompany.com. That is the best way to find out when they have knives available. Use code CAM10 for 10% off your first order. My favorite blade is a Blackfoot 2.0. Montana Knife Company, working knives for working people. I put my body through a lot. I've found that Ketone IQ has helped give me an edge when I'm running. I actually won my latest ultra and made sure I had some ketones to take throughout the race. I'm already drinking so much caffeine in a day. I really like that ketones provide a clean energy with no sugar or added caffeine. Ketones provide a ton of benefits to the body, the biggest being cognitive function. So I even down a shot before I podcast, and I feel like it helps me think more clearly. I'm all for anything that makes me smarter because the guests I have on here are top performers in their field, and I need all the help I can get. Ketone IQ is giving listeners of this podcast a great deal. They're offering you 30% off your first subscription order of Ketone IQ at ketone.com/cam.
What are you thinking about? What is that obsession that drives that? Is that to make the perfect shot on an elk, or is it just a routine?
It's to make the perfect shot on an elk. It's to be ready to be able to get to where you have to be in time. If you hear something bugling at the top of the ridge, you have to be fit enough to get all the way up there while it's happening. And you have to be able to keep your head together while you make the shot. You have to have confidence in your shooting. You have to have shot so many times that it's just a routine in your head. You know what to do. And now, since you first took me bow hunting when we went to the rivets in like 2012? 2014. Since then, I've been obsessed, just obsessed. And I just think about it all the time. I mean, when I'm not doing anything, I'm just thinking about.
Is that weird how from 2014, now you've been obsessed, that's all you think about essentially? I mean, you mentioned you almost didn't want to, you were worried about the number one TV program on Netflix. That's what your comedy special was, number one, and you were worried that was going to interfere with your bowhunting preparation.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. So, isn't that weird how before 2014, what was the obsession, and what did bowhunting change?
Well, I've always been obsessed with things that make me nervous. I like things that make me. When I was young, I realized that if you can do things that everyone's scared of, you can excel. Because people are scared of these things.
They shy away from.
So if you gravitate towards things that people are scared of, first of all, you learn something about yourself that you can, because I knew other people, like it started out with martial arts, started out with fighting. I was terrified of fighting. I learned how to fight because I didn't like getting picked on. I was like, this sucks. I don't like getting picked on. I have to learn how to defend myself. And then I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become the person I'm terrified of. So I'll just become that person. So I became obsessed with fighting. And the reason why I was obsessed with fighting is because it was so scary. It was so terrifying. But every time I did it and got better, I realized I can do this with anything. And it gave me a path to accomplish things in life. Find something that's really difficult to do that most people shy away from, and you can excel in life. And I felt the same way about stand-up comedy. Everybody's terrified of going on stage. They're terrified of, being rejected by audiences. They're terrified of stage fright and the light on you and the moment. Like, ready, go. This live moment when you're in front of people. And that's terrifying. And I became obsessed with that. Just the thing of doing this thing that everybody's afraid of. And so I realized, I knew when I was young, I'm too ADHD or whatever the fuck it is. I can't have a regular job. I don't have that brain. I can't just sit down and do things. I go crazy. I'm just too wired. And so I realized there's other paths in life that they didn't teach you about in school. And my first path was martial arts. And then I realized nobody teaches you, hey, you can become a martial arts champion. Nobody says, maybe that's what you should do. Nobody says that.
Right.
And I realized that's a path.
That's not
There's people that do that.
Topic.
Right. They don't. And so when I realized that kind of gives you brain damage, it's probably not a good thing to do forever. And then when I got into stand-up comedy, I was like, I can do this. So I got obsessed with that. And when I started doing stand-up comedy, one of the things that obsessed me about it is I wasn't good at it. And I realized how hard it was to get good at. And then I kept getting better and better and better. And along the way, I realized like the same thing that I learned from martial arts, that all you have to do is dedicate yourself to something and be honest with yourself about like what you're doing good and what you're doing bad and what you need to improve upon and how much work are you putting in to meet your goals. And then I applied that to comedy. And then I applied that to bow hunting. It's the same kind of thing. It's a vehicle for developing your human potential. And I feel like out of all the things that I've done that are exciting, bow hunting is the most exciting. And particularly bow hunting elk, because there's something about the screams and the just the environment is so unforgiving and so challenging, and these animals are just majestic. Like I always think, like if you were a person that had no idea that elk bugle and you were walking through the woods and you heard those noises, you'd be like, oh my God, there's demons out here.
Yeah.
Like what is that? Yeah. Like what are those sounds? And they're just ferocious sounds. Just you know, like, it's crazy. Yeah. And it makes your hair stand on end. It makes you tingle. It echoes through the canyons. And then there's these moments where you have an opportunity and they're fleeting. Yeah. And it's like, I had to shoot through these 2 trees, you know? And it was like, you know, you have these moments where like the first time I came here with you, when we did that Under Armour hunt and it was filmed, I had to shoot through this little hole and I knew people were filming it. And I knew like this giant herd bull, this huge herd bull. And it was just perfect shot. Yeah. And when I pulled it off, I was like, that's what all the hard work was for. Yeah. This is what it's all about. It's all about maximizing that opportunity, this one moment, ready, go. The thing that scares everybody, right? Like fucking up and choking and not being able to pull it off. It's terrifying, but it's also insanely rewarding. And then when you get to eat it and then you just get to enjoy it. Like I remember the first time Ranella took me hunting, we hunted mule deer in the Missouri Breaks in the, in Montana, in the Missouri River. And I'd never been hunting for anything. And then I shot a mule deer and we did it all on television, same kind of deal, like high pressure. You know, I never even shot anything with a rifle. I had shot like a couple of times warming up for this. Like Ranella set up a target and, you know, we just shot a couple of times, like, all right, you're good. And then let's go. And, you know, we're hiking through the mountains and I was in good shape, luckily. So I was like, this is crazy how hard this is. Yeah. And then when we were eating it over the fire, he was like, what do you think? I'm like, I'm doing this forever.
You knew right then.
Right away. Yeah. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I got into hunting because I was thinking I was going to become a vegetarian. I watched too many PETA films. I watched too many films on animal cruelty and factory farming. And I was like, what am I eating? Like, this is horrible. And then I was like, but I really like meat. Like because I was a vegetarian for a little bit when I was a kid, when I was fighting, because I fought most of my amateur career at 155 pounds. But for the first year when I was 17, first year I won the states, I fought at 140 and it was fucking brutal to make 140. It was so hard and I was still growing. And I was just starving myself, like when I was up to like big tournaments to make weight, and I would be depleted. And I remember thinking, I can't, you know, it's like it's such an unbelievable struggle to try to make that weight. And so I decided I was going to go up in weight. And then when I went up in weight, I had so much more energy and so much more enthusiasm.
So did you became vegetarian to cut weight?
Yeah. Okay. So I became a vegetarian when I was 17 for like 6 months. And just to try to make 140. And I was so tired all the time.
It's a great way to lose muscle.
I lost everything. I lost my will. And then my instructor said, you know, you should just go up in weight. And I gained 10 pounds in like a week. And then I became like the best version of myself. So then I went on a tear and won all these tournaments. And it was all because I started eating again. And I was eating meat like all the time, like mostly meat. I was eating meat. Because that's what, like, I realized in my head, that's what was holding me back. Like as soon as I started eating meat, like I had so much more energy. And so then when I started watching these PETA films, I was like, what am I eating? This is terrible. Like, am I going to become a vegan? Am I going to become a vegetarian? I was like, okay, there's 2 options. Either I can kill animals myself and eat them like wild animals, or I'll become a vegetarian. And so that's why I decided to start hunting. And when Ranella took me, as soon as I shot that deer and we were eating it over the fire at a campground, like it was freezing out, we're cooking like literally like caveman style all over logs. I was like, oh, I'm doing this forever.
Right.
Like this is what I'm doing.
I think that's important too, because if I'm remembering correctly, you still have those antlers on your table, right?
That's on my table in my studio.
Yeah. So, I mean, when people think, to Adam's point earlier, that we're just out there murdering things and it's meaningless, it's like, or mindless, I guess. Really, these animals are revered. You killed that buck. That was probably 2012, maybe.
Yeah, that was 2012.
Right. So it's 12 years ago, and you still have those antlers as a memory of that hunt on your studio table right now. You're still talking about that. That memory is still as vivid as it was at that time, cooking, as you said, as a caveman, cooking that buck over the fire. So it's far from mindless. And in fact, it's actually the opposite. It's so soul enriching that you're never going to forget those moments. And you still have that memory that's there every day at your studio. So I think people who don't hunt don't understand that part of the hunter's mind.
It also, one thing I realized almost instantly is it taps into some form of genetic memory. Mm-hmm. The same memory, I always describe it like when people catch a fish. Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen it with my daughter when I took her fishing when she was really little. When she was like 4 or 5 years old, she caught her first fish. And there's the moment you go, I think it's ingrained in people because 100%. This is going to feed you. Yeah. You're not going to starve now. Like it's in our genetic memory that if you catch a fish, like it's not just exciting because it's kind of difficult and it's fun, but it's also exciting because you realize this is food. And this is how you're going to survive.
Right, yeah.
And the hunting part is way more intense than fishing because you're out there in their world and it's your world too. It's not the ocean, right? Mm-hmm. It's your world. You're in the mountains. And you feel so vulnerable and so lonely, kind of. There's like a loneliness to the wilderness. Like the wilderness doesn't give a fuck if you break your leg and die up there.
Right, yeah. You're insignificant.
Insignificant.
Basically. Yeah.
Completely.
Nothing changes.
But when you do get the animal and you're cooking it over a fire like our ancestors did, it ignites some part of you that I don't think you will understand unless you do that. Mm-hmm. Unless you participate, unless you go out and do that. And I think most people who do that and they eat that animal that day over a fire and you feel, first of all, how delicious it is, the sustenance and the fact that you accomplish this very difficult thing to do, and then you become obsessed with doing it again.
It's so stimulating. It is so, like, I always feel like it's so mentally healthy for me. Mm-hmm. I always feel that. And it like just being in the outdoors is one thing, but then being a hunter and actually like being really involved in that whole circle of life, the whole system, I always feel like it's so mentally healthy for me. I always feel heaps better after it.
Mm-hmm. But then there was bow hunting, which was like multiple levels of difficulty above rifle hunting, but also multiple levels of satisfaction higher. Mm-hmm. But much more difficult to do and much more rewarding when it happens. And it also requires so much more discipline. Like I remember, do you remember that time that we went to California and we had no success bow hunting for like 6 days, mm-hmm. and we pulled out a rifle and I shot an elk in like 30 minutes?
Yeah.
It was way easier.
Yeah.
But it was like, that is the difference. Like the bow hunting part, it's so much hard. But the rifle hunting part, it was great. I got an elk. We ate it. It was fun. The whole thing was great, but it's not the same.
Right.
The bow hunting thing requires how many times did I shoot a rifle that year? Like twice?
Yeah.
I would never think about taking a shot on an elk if I had shot my bow twice in a year.
Right.
But in a rifle, I'm like, well, I got a stand? Okay. Mm-hmm. I got a scope? Okay. All I have to do is this?
Yeah.
Boom.
That was like 308 yards.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
308 yards with no practice, killed it with one shot.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm not downplaying the difficulty of rifle hunting. Rifle hunting is a difficult endeavor.
Yeah.
It's way more difficult than going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And it's way more rewarding, way more satisfying. But again, I'm always obsessed with things that are really hard to do, that are scary.
And it's not, if you had a lust for killing, I mean, you could use a rifle on this hunt. This is a CWMU tag, which any weapon is allowed. So if it was just about killing, you'd have a rifle and you'd kill the biggest bull. You'd go out there and see what biggest bull you could find, get in and drop it with rifle. It's not just about killing. It's about the challenge and about the reward of that challenge when you are successful, or the heartbreak when you fail, because that happens too. I mean, there is heartbreak in bow hunting.
Yes.
And it's soul crushing to me.
Soul crushing.
And so you're putting yourself out there. You mentioned this big risk reward. You talked about stand-up comedy. Bow hunting is similar because the chasm between success and failure might as well be the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
It is such a difference, but that's what we're facing.
Right. And I've had a massive advantage in knowing you, and first of all, knowing Ranella and having him take me and mentor me, and then having you teach me how to shoot a bow and show me and, take me to Alberta and show me how to hunt with a bow. It's like, and then the recognition of like, oh, this is a guy that's like so disciplined and has dedicated his whole life to this thing. Like, how hard is this thing to do? It's so hard to do. But if you do put in that work, you can get there. It is possible to get there, Like when you and I hunted here a couple years back and you filmed that shot that I made on your camera, that 67-yard shot, just right, and just,
Beautiful shot.
yeah, we were all hugging and everybody's like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And like someone said that was the closest we ever saw to Cam and Joe having a baby.
That's
We're hugging. I love you. I love you.
Yeah.
It was like, that was so great. But it was because it's so difficult, and it's the result of discipline and working towards a goal that's a very hard goal to accomplish. To make a 67-yard perfect shot in this one moment.
And those bulls were squaring up. So I was like, okay, bull on the left. No, bull on the right. Right. No, it's like, no, bull on the left. And then switch to the bull on the left. All this is happening crazy, a big rut fest. I don't know how many bulls were up there, but it was so much pressure. And then you just executed the perfect arrow. And I was just, people would say, why are you, you killed an animal. Why are you laughing and smiling? It was just because when you've faced that pressure and succeeded in that moment, it's such a relief, kind of. It's like an elation because those thousands of arrows, the sweating in the Texas sun, all the repetitions, it paid off in that moment. Yeah. That's why you see that reaction.
And it's not just like shooting the arrows, trying to get good at shooting arrows. It's knowing that one day you're going to have one moment.
A test.
It's like this 10-second interval. You have 10 seconds. They crash, he chases them off, broadside.
Yeah.
Draw back, take them. And that's it.
Yeah.
And then, and when you do, and you see that arrow go right into the lungs, you're like, oh my God, we did it.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to do. And I hope everybody experiences something like that in their life. Because I think challenges are what make you a better person, and overcoming challenges is something that everybody should try to do. I don't think everybody should bow hunt. I don't think everybody should play chess. I think you should do whatever you're excited about, whatever you are whatever you're gravitated towards.
That
whatever
challenges you.
Yeah, whatever challenges you. And for you, it might be running 240 miles. I don't want to run 240 miles. Why the fuck do you do it? I don't know. But when you do it, I'm like, God damn, he did it. It's doing things like that. Like I said, it's a vehicle for developing your human potential. Just like martial arts, just like anything that's hard to do. It's like you realize that with hard work, and when you have a goal and you work towards that goal, you see you're getting better and better and better. It used to be hard for me to like hit a target at 20 yards. Like it was hard to like this block target's this big. I get it over here, I get it over there.
Yeah. I always say nobody is born a great bow hunter. I mean, that takes effort
it's
and
fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard, but that's why it's exciting. And that's why I think we all gravitate towards it because that challenge is something that it makes you more alive. It really does. I've done a lot of difficult things. I've done a lot of challenging, scary things in my life. Bow hunting's the most exciting out of all the things that I do.
Has it had the biggest impact on your life, do you think? Or
It's hard to quantify. Like, what's that? I mean, obviously, like, financially, no. You know, like, comedy's had the biggest, and podcasting had the biggest impact in terms of, like, what I've been able to accomplish. But the biggest, it's a different thing. And there's, like, a brotherhood of bow hunting that's so different than anything else. Like, I'll run into some guy at the grocery store, and, you know, he'll come up to me and be like, hey, you know, I just got back from a hunt in Utah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, how was it? And then all of a sudden, me and this guy are talking. Yeah. And I'm like, well, you know, what do you shoot? Oh, I shoot with a Matthews. Oh, I shoot with a Hoyt. You know, what grain's your arrow? We start talking. It's like immediately there's this, like, understanding that we both do this crazy thing that's really difficult to do.
Yeah.
You know? And
I'm always grateful to have found it.
yeah,
You know, I'm always like, if who would I be and what would I be doing if I didn't find bow hunting? Because, like, things wear off of me, you know, and to have something that I've done for so long and stuck to it, and we've been saying it heaps this trip, that it's something that never gets dull. It never gets old. It never wears off. You know, you just keep, like, tonguing for more. You know, it's like,
that's the thing that you
found
kept. You could, when we were coming here from the airport, you kept saying, like, it's more exciting than it's ever been.
how can you get keener? Because I'm always like,
Keener.
what word would you use? Didn't I use keener?
All week we've been ragging on Adam for his Australian phrase.
well,
More excited.
And
like,
putting
how
ketchup
can you
on
get
steaks.
more
yeah.
excited?
I mean, like I said, I think when we were at my bowl today, it's like the first bull I killed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and I said it yesterday too. I said, this packing out your bull, working on your bull. I said, this is the best day of my life.
Yeah.
And then today, guess what today was?
The best day of your life. Another best day of your life.
So I don't think the impact can be minimized at all. But how has bow hunting changed your life? How did you find it?
I feel like it's kept me on a good straight course with
Healthy.
others. Yeah, like mentally, physically, the friends that I've made, like having such similar things of interest with someone goes such a long way. But it goes such a long way that it's hard to be friends with anyone that's not a bow hunter.
Yeah.
That's the sucky bit, because someone's talking about something that's exciting and you're just like, have you ever, like,
Run an arrow through a buffalo?
pretty much.
I mean,
so it's hard.
what the fuck
It's
are you
hard,
talking about?
'cause bowhunting-
Bowling?
Bowhunting's so exciting
Yeah.
that everything is a little bit more dull, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other things that play in that, because I don't like the party scene. I never have, but I've got bad hearing. So I'm at parties and someone's talking to me and I can't hear them with all the background noise. So, like, hunting suits me in that sense. Like, I had a rough upbringing. Like, my dad was a really abusive alcoholic. And so that's pushed me away from people as well, because it's like, that's my own family. And he was like that. So I don't really like strangers or crowds.
You couldn't trust your own family, so how would you trust
So
a
that's
stranger?
another thing that puts you in an isolated situation. Hunting's a beautiful isolated situation. You're out in the middle of nowhere. There's all you're dealing with is with animals, you know, and then the people you do meet, because they're so like-minded, it's easy to connect. So there's all different little things that I feel like that's pushed me to really love bow hunting, to the point that I'm like, it's my life. You know, like, I've got my immediate family, and then I've got bow hunting, which is essentially the outdoors. You know, because you know, we keep calling it bow hunting, but there's like everything else that goes with it. And I don't think you ever really master it. You know, it's like, and if you think you do, that's when, like, an animal does something that really surprises you, and you know, sort of, yeah.
I always wonder, is this going to be the year I don't kill a bull? That's how hard it is. It is so hard. There's no success is not guaranteed. I think until I get my first bull killed of the year, I'm like, I might not get one.
Yeah.
It's that.
Which, imagine how exciting the next year would be. Like,
Oh, yeah.
anticipation for it. And redemption.
But
right?
yeah, it's just like just the incessant work to prepare, as Joe mentioned, because of that fear of maybe I won't achieve my goal, and maybe I won't have that elk meat.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm worried about that. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And every time it does work out, and there is a bull on the ground that fell to my arrow, such a feeling of relief, achievement, gratitude. I don't know. It'd be hard to
How
explain.
many bulls do you think you've witnessed being killed with a bow and arrow?
I mean, not
Heaps.
heaps. Yeah,
Heaps,
I don't know.
heaps, tons. And then Joe, we get the call that Joe's got a bull down, and you're that excited. It's
Yeah.
not even your bull.
No.
And you're that excited, and we just get up there, and it's like, it's the most amazing thing ever. And to celebrate that with you was friggin' incredible, and just, yeah.
Well,
and the whole lot, packing it off the mountain, cutting it up, seeing the wound channel where your broadhead went.
You saw how fast I was walking in there.
Yeah, because I was struggling keeping up.
I could not wait to get up that mountain.
Yeah.
I'm like here, he had on the Onyx, Adam did. It's like here, I was ready to cut up like as soon as possible.
Well, that was the same thing today. When you killed your bull, we were eating breakfast.
Yeah.
And we got the word.
Let's go.
Well, let's go. We ran over to that. It's so exciting to watch your friends succeed too, because
Yeah.
you know what they went through. You know how hard it is to do.
Yeah.
And the difference between your first bull that you ever killed and the bull today is just that now you have immense confidence in your abilities because of the hard work that you put in and the fact that you've done it over and over again. And you know that when that moment arises, like, explain the situation today, how you killed your bull, because it's a crazy scenario.
Yeah, it was a rut fest, as we talk about. We're basically gonna line out down the ridge like a couple miles because the wind, just to get the wind right. The wind was going down, right? So we were gonna go. You can get trapped in this thing of you could hunt elk with the wind at your back or quartering. It's all you're gonna do is get frustrated and blow a bunch of elk out. So essentially, you got to walk by elk. If the wind's not right, we're going to get down a couple miles, loop back in, drop in the canyon, and hunt back up with the wind going down. You have to have the wind right. For people who don't know, you would not kill with a bow unless the wind is right. If the animal smells you, it's over. So we're basically just going to sacrifice the hunt at the beginning of the morning just to get the wind right. As we were going down, I went out on this little finger ridge and kind of could get the wind right for this little pocket that was not in the big canyon we were going to hunt, but a side canyon and a side draw essentially. And if we dropped down, then the wind would be coming down it. So the wind would be right. And there was a number of bulls going off in the pines up there. So I just started lining out to them, and there was some elk that could, I found that if you just move slowly, very slow, very steady, you can get away with a lot, right? And so I was just slowly, no panic, no crouching, no anything, but we were hundreds of yards away from them, probably 600 yards, but just slowly going, staying in the shadows when I could, got all the way to the bottom. So now the wind was coming down, the bulls in the pines were going crazy. Eased up. I saw the herd bull up there pushing cow. James is behind me filming. True is behind him a little bit. And it was hard for me because I got to try to keep track of where two other people are to, like, when I stop, where are they stopping? What can the elk see? So anyway, I get frustrated at times, but these guys did a great job. So we got up there and I had that herd bull at like 50 some yards, and he was a 5x6. He wasn't what I would, an old enough bull to shoot, but he had the herd. Snuck up. There's two other bulls going crazy, and it sounds like they were getting aggressive. I heard some antlers clashing at one time or another. Snuck up, didn't see a bull that was over here. He had caught movement, but we were in the shadows, so he didn't really know what happened, but he was another younger bull, and he's about at 60 yards. So now we're getting up in there, and now it's getting really thick, very brushy. You saw when my bull died. Got up. I told James, stay right on me because I can't keep track of how far back you are and where you are. So stay right on me. So I know when I stop, you stop. When I move, you move. Anyway, so he got up on me, And I started to sneak up through the thick foliage, and there was a cow at about 10 yards, and a bull came down to her, and I had glassed, and I could see he wasn't a giant bull either. So now I'm focused on up the hill, and I caught this glimpse of this bull, and I saw he had a good distance beyond his fifth point. The fifth point was pretty long, and he had a little kicker or a little nub, like almost a 7 point. And I'm like, that's the biggest bull on this hill. And I was working towards him, and he was kind of facing off with another bull, or they're kind of getting close. I don't know if it was one of the other ones that I'd seen. But anyway, very thick. I got in about probably 20 yards from him. He didn't know. I could barely see him through there. And I just kept easing up. And then he started to move to my left. Wind was coming down this whole time, so the wind was in our favor. It was couldn't have worked out any better. James is filming. Very thick, very hard to film. But the bull walked over, and he was under 20 yards now. I had my sight set at 20. I had it at 30 originally, but even 30 was going to be too long of a shot in that all that brush. So I set it at 20. Knew it was going to be close if I did get a shot. He came to a window, and I came to full draw, and I was like, ew, ew, ew. And he stopped after he went through the window. So then I'm up full draw, and he's like looking, but it's so thick. And I was like, did a mouth cow call. Probably didn't sound that great, but it was good enough to not spook him. And then he started to move again because it's so chaotic in there. He was amped up. He was looking to be aggressive on something, on someone. So he moved to this, and I had another little window, and I was like, ew, ew, ew. Like kind of got, he's like, then he stopped, and then I was just like, whack, freaking release the arrow, hit high, kind of like, below his spine, but the arrow rode up and dropped him in his tracks. Yeah. And I saw him go down. I just sprinted up there. It was probably like maybe under 15 yards, and I just put an arrow on him real quick, and he was done in seconds. And that was it. But it was, I don't know if that there's no way that could sound as intense as it was. You'll see the video. It was a madhouse in there. Yeah, it was like wading into a hurricane.
It sounds like everyday OTC.
So when we were coming, we got to the top of the ridge, and by the time we got to the top of the ridge, the thermal started to rise. Mm-hmm. So the wind was coming up. So that's when we started to drop down. Yeah. And as we started dropping down, we were in really thick stuff. You couldn't see anything. Mm-hmm. But there was bulls, 3 or 4 bulls within 50 yards of us, screaming at the top of their lungs, and we couldn't see anything.
Right.
Couldn't see it. We didn't know where the cows were, so we didn't know if we were going to bump into one of them. So we're just slowly making our way.
This is on your kill?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So then we get through a clearing.
You know, the terrain was similar as far as they like rutting in that kind of thick stuff for whatever reason. I mean,
probably they feel safer there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure.
They bed in there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it stunk. It stunk like elk. It just smelled so awesome.
Similar?
I mean, very similar. Very similar, very thick, very thick. But then we got into this clearing, and we got into clearing at the perfect time. And these smaller bulls that were still big bulls, but not the herd bull, were challenging this one bull for his cows. And we heard a couple of cows mewing, so they were in heat. And this one herd bull was fighting them off. And so Colton let out a challenge bugle. And this herd bull was like, who the fuck else wants some of this shit? And so he came out into this opening, and he was looking at us, and we're just frozen. And it's like 25 yards just frozen. And then he's just staring at us, and we don't even move. We're just completely frozen. And then another bull bugles, and he's like, what the fuck? And then he starts like moving towards them. And then Colton goes, meow. And there was this opening between these 2 trees at 27. And he was just quartering away. And I just sent
What did you have your sight on?
I had it on 25 because I knew where he was.
So you're prepared.
Yeah, because everything was so close. I just set it at 25, and he was at 25.
Or did you think about my prophetic text?
It was crazy because I was showing Cam these groups that I was making at 84, and he goes, well, hopefully you'll get a bull at 24 yards. So we're only off by a yard. I mean, I think he got to 27. I think Colton said, but I didn't. I kept my sight at 25.
Yeah. Was it raining when you took the shot?
No, right afterwards. Yeah. So I take the shot. Colton goes, you smoked him. Like, it was a perfect shot. Quartering away, went right through his body. And then we see blood because he ran over this one tree with his deadfall, and we could see the blood on the tree. And so we said, okay, he's clearly bleeding. And then the sky opens up, and it just starts pouring, and we're like, shit.
Yeah, that
We didn't see him drop,
Not ideal.
but also he didn't really know what happened, so he didn't run off. It hit him, and he was so fired up because of the rut and because of all these other bulls were. And even after we hit him, another bull bugled right where he went. We're like, is that him? How is that him? That's not even possible, because it was a perfect shot. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And so it was pouring rain, so we had to make a call. So we said, let's just sit here. So we sat there for 2 hours, just drenched, put on the rain gear, and and then the sky opens up. So we're like, we're not going to see any blood. So we waited for 2 hours while it was pouring rain. And then finally, around, I guess, 11 a.m., it starts opening up. And we made the call, let's wait 1 more hour, just in case. It was a ridiculous hour of not knowing. So you're sitting there for a whole hour, just like huddling in the trees.
because Colton was worried that you guys both thought it was a good arrow, perfect shot, but just in case you did have to blood trail it, there could be no blood because of the rain.
And we didn't see him drop.
Right.
Right. So if he did
it's
go
cold
down
enough
embedded,
Where
right.
waiting wasn't going to hurt anything.
Right, exactly.
All it could do is hurt. If you pushed him with no blood, potentially you could lose that animal.
100%.
When waiting takes so much discipline, because everybody wants to hold those hours. I mean,
Right.
everybody wants to get to their animal, but sometimes you have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
And that was
It was the right call.
Making that call, yeah.
It was, well, Colton's so good. He's such a great guide, and he's so experienced. And so, he made the call, and I was like, you're right, let's just sit here. So, but it's that wild moment of not knowing for like 3 hours. We're sitting there. We gave him 2 hours, and we tried to give him 1 more hour, and then it was fully sunny out by this time. And so then we started creeping. And so we did find that blood was still on the log, which was promising. That like, okay, maybe we will be able to blood trail him. And then we did find a couple specks of blood that hadn't been rinsed off on some of the leaves that he passed by. And so we used Onyx Hunt, and we mapped the trail, and we kind of had an idea where he went, and we started walking real slow, and 100 yards later, he was right there. He had been stiff, so he probably died really quick.
He was dead. He was dead on his feet, like doing that autopsy and seeing where the wound channel was and cutting the top of the heart off. Like, he was dead on his feet, but they're such a big, long-legged animal, right?
Yeah,
that
cover distance.
they can cover distance, especially going downhill. So, yeah, if it was like something else, another species of animal, it might have went 20, but they can just cover so much distance.
They're so tough too. And so, we start creeping, and then, it was only like 5 minutes, and then Colton goes. And we see these antlers in the bushes, poking out of the bushes, so I knock an arrow. Well, I had an arrow knocked already because we were creeping, and so we start creeping up to him, but he was dead as a doornail. And it was just... the relief was so incredible, and then to see him there and just, it was blood everywhere where he was. So he must have just ran to that spot and just piled up and died. And it was,
that broadhead was devastating.
it's just the relief is so incredible. It's just like, like it's the elevation is, you're just elated in this incredible way. Yeah, you're peaking, mate. You must have been peaking.
Yeah, no, like all your training and getting ready, and even the thought process that goes in behind it, like even the mental training and then to pull it off, like it all coming together.
Yeah, and also having done it so many times now, the ability to keep the anxiety in a box. Like, so I know when we were coming down in the thick stuff, and all these bulls were screaming. And even these young bulls had these crazy bugles. You couldn't tell who was who. Like, there was this one young bull that really tricked us because he sounded incredible. And you feel that coming on, like, oh my God, it's going to happen right now. But because I've done this so many times, because I know what that is, and because I've been nervous, everything I do makes me nervous. So I know how to, like, stay calm.
Yeah.
Like, stay in the pocket. And so just almost like dead. Like, you stay dead calm. Like, just completely focused on the task. And so when, Colton, and he was like a quartering away, and I drew back, when the arrow, it was like like I was shooting a target. It was crazy.
Composed.
Completely relaxed.
And for whatever reason, your journey in life has prepared you for moments like that, because for a lot of people in that moment, including me when I first started bow hunting, sometimes I wouldn't know what pin I used. What I is like a blackout.
Yeah. A rush of it.
It's like so much adrenaline going at that moment, so much high emotion that you just kind of, instead of that intense focus as you had, because I feel like everything you've done has prepared you for that. And, you 57 years of life, that's kind of what you're built for, right? When you first start, when you're new in this journey of life, that moment is so big.
It's nuts.
It's hard you can't harness it.
Yeah, it can tell you the jelly and
It
just
can,
wreck
and it
everything.
does.
Yeah.
Some people shoot 20 yards over the top of a bull.
Well, shout out to Joel Turner, because one thing that has really helped me is his whole shot IQ program and his explanation, because Joel was he was a sniper, and so when you have to make shots, when like he was explaining on my podcast about the shot that he had to take on this guy who was holding this girl hostage, and some meth head who, I forget, he had a knife or a gun, I forget what it was, but he had to make a headshot on this guy who was holding a girl hostage. And he was explaining how those moments where law enforcement officers and for sure military and people have to make shots in incredible, tense, just life or death environments, that you have this unconscious urge, just pull the trigger and just hope it goes well. And what he explains in his shot IQ program is that there's a thing called open loop and closed loop thinking. And open loop is like you swing a baseball bat. It's like you're not going to stop that baseball bat. You're swinging it. And closed loop is you're in control of every single aspect of that, but you have to talk yourself through it. So he has this whole program where he explains that you're thinking loudly. You're talking to yourself in your head about how you do this. You know how to do draw back and aim. Like he has this whole thing, get it done. All these different you can have different things that you can say. I know you say,
Self-talk.
Keep the pin on them, keep the pin on them, keep the pin on them. And as you say that, you're talking to yourself, and it keeps you focused on this very specific task. And you have to be able to you don't want to hit the trigger. So you have to be able to like execute perfectly in that one moment. And the way to do that is to have this thing in your head where you're talking yourself through it. And the more you can do that, the more you'll be calm as you do it. And the more times you've been in those scenarios where you're bow hunting, the better you'll be off at doing it.
Were you doing that?
Yes.
Do you remember specifically doing that, or is it like subconscious now?
No, I do it when I'm shooting. I do it when I'm practicing. So I don't
on the kill.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. It's
no, I definitely remember light thumb on the trigger, elbow up high, pull with the back, keep the pin on them. This whole thing, like center the peep, make sure the bubble's level, elbow up high, light pressure on the thumb, stare at the target where you want to hit, pull, execute.
Okay.
And it all went perfect. Yeah. It just all went. But it's also because I've shot like 12 bulls now. It's also because I've shot a bunch of pigs and deer. I've done that many, many times. I know what it is, but his program is excellent because the mental side of it is something you either learn through repetition, through many, many, many hunts, or you can have a shortcut where you can understand what the thought process is and how to control that thought process in these heavy, stressful situations. And for sure, it also helps that I've been through a lot of stressful situations, so I know what that anxiety, like you can get that anxiety right before you go on stage. Like before my Netflix specials, like that was live for the whole world. And so as I'm in the dressing room and Tony's on stage and Ron White's on stage and they're killing in front of the crowd, I know in 10 minutes I'm going to be in front of millions of people. But I feel that thing come on. I'm like, no, stay in this box. This is the box of performance. The box of performance is, you know what you do. You know what you do. You 100% confidence in your preparation. I prepared as I did who knows how many sets getting ready for that. Who knows how many times. I mean, the whole day of my show, I watched tapes. I listened to recordings. I went to the gym. I had my set playing in my ear while I was working out. Like, I covered all bases. I left no stone unturned so that when I went on stage, I could stay in the pocket. And I was just in the zone the entire time I was on stage. Like, I never thought, oh my God, there's all these people watching. Never thought that. I just went through it. So I'm used to doing things like that where it's like, go, ready, now. And those things are so exciting. But even doing a live Netflix special is not as exciting as releasing a perfect arrow on a bull in the middle of a rut fest. There's nothing like it.
I wonder if it's because when you're doing your set, it's you. You are the only thing that's affecting that.
Right.
Whereas when you're hunting, it's you, but you don't know what the animal's going to do.
Exactly.
You don't know what the wind's going to do. You don't know what it's like there's so many variables that you can't control essentially. But so you control what you can with your shot IQ process, with this whole thing, with all the reps that you do, and hopefully it works out right.
Right.
But all you can control is you.
But it's also the consequences are so different because you love these animals so much. It's life. And you want a clean kill. You want one arrow. You want it to go right through the vitals. You want to watch the animal drop ideally. And because we couldn't watch the animal drop because it was so thick. I mean, he only went 100 yards. If it was line of sight, we would have been able to see him run and drop right where he was. We didn't have that luxury. And then it was pouring rain. I mean, the sky just opened up on us. So then we're sitting there going, shit, we're not going to have a blood trail. And so now I'm going through my mind where I saw him go like that. I know he went down. Like, which way did he go? We're pretty sure he went that way. So there's this weird moment where you're like, I think I did it. I think it all worked out great.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you're right there.
Both of you as well were so confident where the arrow hit and seen it bury up to the Fletchers, because we were talking about it a bit, like, you know, on the way up and stuff like that. And it's just like, it sounds like it's dead, like right there. But because that country is like that, it probably could have only went 20 yards as well, and you still wouldn't have seen it gone down.
No, you wouldn't have seen anything. It was so thick.
Yeah.
I mean, he went crashing through, and he didn't even run off. He just kind of like, he stumbled when he got hit. He went over this log. I don't think he knew what was happening, but the cows didn't react. So the cows were everywhere. I got film of a cow 10 feet from me. Did I show it to you yet?
No. So they had no idea what happened.
No idea. And we're standing there, dead still, and this cow is feeding where that couch is.
That's a big thing, and we talked about this too, that I love about bow hunting as opposed to rifle hunting. When a rifle reports or goes off, everyone knows.
Everything runs.
It's just it's chaos.
Yeah.
And when a bow, I mean, sometimes nothing changes. The bull just kind of goes off and dies.
A bull tried to breed a cow 5 yards from us. 5 yards from us. That bull walked right past us. The cow went 10 feet from us. It was eating grass. Cows were all around us. There were 15 yards to our right, 10 yards, 5 yards, all around us until they eventually wandered off. And then there was another bull down there that was screaming. And then we heard bulls crashing and clashing antlers above us. Insane. And we still didn't know whether the bull was dead. We didn't know what was going on.
It's great that you had the knowledge to, even though you'd shot a bull and you were pretty sure that it was the perfect shot, that when that cow and that was there, you were still like, we're not spooking them, because that could then do a knock-on effect and spook your bull and push your bull further.
Yeah.
The fact that you know to be like, okay, yeah.
Also, it was just cool.
Yeah.
Because we were just sitting there like, she's right there.
You know what I'd be worried about with a bull breeding a cow 5 yards away?
Getting cummed on?
Don't get cummed on.
That's an inside joke.
It was like,
That's a big inside joke.
you were saying about keeping calm, and like obviously you've had a lot of that in life, as in having to even do the stand-up, that you're training yourself to do the Netflix special, right? And usually I'm calm, really calm, and this trip when my bull ran towards me, the first time I thought he was coming straight towards me. I was settled the whole time. But because he ran towards me and I was like dead still, no shaking, once he turned away and I let down, I went
Right.
shit, you know. Like hands, arms, the whole lot. It's actually a really uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
Like I've had
Because you can't control your body.
times. It's an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
And then because another bull actually come over the ridge of my bull that kept challenging him, and that's what ended up pushing the cows towards me. And he tried to herd him off. So when he come back the second time, and I was like, I can't be like this. I somehow managed to push that into my legs. So my legs were just going, but the top end was dead smooth. And then obviously I shot the top of his heart off, and then adrenaline kicks in even more. But for some reason it was just in my legs. But it was still an uncomfortable. I was still uncomfortable. Even when the bull was dead in front of me and I was up there, I'm like, I don't want to feel this.
Out of control.
I never got excited until we got the bull down. I stayed like completely in that box even after the shot. Even after it hit him, I wasn't like, yeah, we did it. It was not like Colton said, you smoked him. We kind of like hugged a little high five, but I stayed like 60 beats a minute. I just stayed level. Well, but that's also the experience.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure. You know, we talked about, you talked about, Colton said you smoked him. Because we've said when we're by ourselves, you can turn a shitty shot in your head into a perfect shot.
Right.
Because you know what you wanted to see, and you wanted to see it so bad that you make it that. And that's not what it was. But I said, the fact that Colton also said it was a perfect shot, then feeling pretty good about it.
There's also the sound, because he was quartering away the sound of the whack.
Yeah.
Like where it hit the ribs.
You can tell a lot from the sound of an arrow hitting.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a, I mean.
And then it also helped that you could see, like where we're standing, you could see the blood where he hit. You could see, like, as he went over the logs, you could see the blood.
Yeah.
It's an amazing moment. It's a weird moment. It's not like anything else in all of life.
Oh, I do want to say too that, you know, we were kind of joking that you shot a bull so fast, but you know, with this weather that came in, there is no guarantee that the hunting's going to stay the same. We had a couple great days, but the weather changed everything. I mean, there's quite a few people hunting. This is a huge property, right? And they haven't had the success we've had. And the weather probably has played a big part of that, because when it's super windy and rainy, animals don't like that. Yeah. They can't use their sense of smell. Everything's moving. They are nervous. So we were in on a herd that was in the timber waiting out the storm, and they weren't moving an inch. It's hard to kill a bull when they're hunkered down because of this weather that came in, and it was sleeting, snowing, raining, windy. So there's no guarantee that the hunting is going to be great the whole time. And we're on a week window. Weather could screw it up. So you took advantage of an opportunity you had that wasn't guaranteed you were going to have it forever. I've been on hunts where the first day was amazing, and you're like, oh my God, this hunt's going to be the best of my life. And then that was the best day of the hunt. And every other day after that, you're like, why did I not take advantage of that those first opportunities? So it's, you know, to kill a big mature bull like you did on the first day,
you have to.
The hunt before I came here is like a 3-day journey to get there. And I was there for half a day and had an urgent matter back in civilization that I had to attend to, and packed up from what was going to be a 10-day trip, packed up and had to go home. You know, so it's like,
life happens.
You don't know what's around the corner, weather-wise, animal-wise, something back at home that you need to attend to. So, and I'd never, ever get to do that. So to shoot like an old bull like that, and I'm stoked with the size of him as well, and just a peaceful kill, can't beat it.
No, it's technical.
And then to be able to go and like enjoy Joe's kill with him and your kill with you, mate.
Yeah. We want to wrap this up with, we had as I said, we watched YouTube videos. We're talking broadheads.
Shout out to Lusk Archery.
Yeah,
John Lusk, really amazing videos.
Yeah, his criteria for testing,
incredible,
scoring, very thorough. I hadn't seen it. Very informative. But so Adam is this is basically what Australia uses. Things like this, similar 2-blade, very tough. Pretty. How heavy is this arrow?
About 540.
540. So You've even used heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like 660s.
Yeah, right. When I hunted buffalo, I was at 650 with a cutting tip. I think a Magnus Stinger or something maybe on there. But you saw the wound channel on my bull. Joe's had good luck with expandables. So we've been talking about, should you try something different, right?
It's funny because I come into the hunt and it's hard to change when something really hasn't failed you, but I come into the hunt saying, I also like the idea of that you have to hit it in the right place to then claim that animal's life, you know. But I hate not having a good blood trail, which you can have with a 2-blade broadhead. Whereas you guys with your expandables, the blood trails are just insane. Like some murderous shit going on.
Yeah. And I think the key is with the expandable heads, we use heavy arrows at fairly high poundage. I think you can get into trouble on a big animal like elk if you have a light arrow at light poundage. That's just, the blades are opening. It's just too much. You need too much energy to make it work the way it's designed to work. And on a big bodied, a big boned, heavily muscled animal like an elk, people could run into trouble with that. We don't. You know, we have enough energy. You have enough energy.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. You can't argue with your results from using those heads and the constant success, and they've never failed you. And then from what Joe's tried to brainwash into me as well, it's like, shit, I need to try these heads. And it's like, just leave me alone.
Well, it's also, he started as a fixed blade guy.
Yeah.
And it was only 2 years ago that he started. 2 years?
3 years.
3 years ago that you started using those Grim Reapers.
Yeah. That was Wayne. You know, Wayne sets up thousands of bows for people every year. He lives for bow hunting, and he says, I think you should try these. These are a great head. And he showed me some wound channels on a blacktail he killed up in the high country. And I was like, that looks devastating. But that was a deer. So I was very hesitant to use them on elk because we've just been ingrained to say you need a good fixed blade head for an animal like an elk. And so I said, well, I'll try it on deer. Then I made this less than perfect shot on this buck in Idaho, a little high, a little back at 36 yards. And I was like, I saw it and I just, and didn't hit where you were hoping, where you wanted to hit that animal. And he went 80 yards and went down. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that was a nice surprise. And then I thought, well, my first elk hunt that year was Roosevelt elk on the coast. And I smoked this bull. I hit it with 2 because he was hurt. And the penetration was amazing, and the bull went down quickly. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll try him on elk because Roosevelt are big-bodied animals, bigger than Rockies even. And since then, every bull has killed been with the Grim Reaper. So that's my proof.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a failure yet.
Yeah.
People worry about expandables. Back in the day, it was not opening up, or there used to be rubber bands. That
that was my first experience with expandables. One failed on the very first animal that I shot with, and it wasn't even a big animal, so it just fully turned me off them, right? And then there's probably been a couple of animals that I should have lost where I've told you this story where it busted through that red stag's the main bone on the red stag and went through its rib, through its heart, outer rib, and then buried into the leg on the other side and just jammed it up, and it just died right there on the spot. And I'm like I probably should have lost that, but because I'm shooting a solid 2-blade broadhead where it just wants to split, but the pros and cons of it, of what I said, like I can shoot that's the Cuyahoga pilot cut, and it's got bleeders in it. So I still call it a 2-blade broadhead because it's just got those bleeders in it.
Those bleeders are pretty large though.
Yeah, and it does open them up and does let them bleed. But if I shot something like that and it reacted hard, like I said, and it opens up, because of its reaction and its legs are stretched out and the arrow goes through, but then it starts running normal, it's all that muscle and everything and hide and everything just closes off the hole. So it's dying, it's going to bleed internally, but it doesn't necessarily give you a good blood trail to try to track. So
and the wound channel inside the animal's not as big.
That's right, yeah. Whereas yours, like when we cut your bull open, the wound channel through that was just, it actually looked about that big.
Yeah.
It looked wider than what the actual broad.
Well, because it pushes all that tissue together.
Yeah.
So like
wider
that one, I think that one too is because it was quartering away. So it's cutting back here when it starts and then cuts here. So it's
Oh,
gonna be
even
longer.
internally, like up underneath, like below the spine where it ran up and through the top of the heart. The
Devastating.
wound channel was just devastating. And you could have actually been an inch either side of the top of the tubes that were coming down to the heart. You were still getting that tube no matter what. Like, instead of cutting straight directly through, you might have just cut one half of one side. Either way, that bull was dead on his feet.
Yeah. I get, I mean, I don't know if I get, but I understand where people, maybe somebody with a light arrow, light draw, this would be the way to go. This cutting tip, two blade, because it's going to enhance penetration.
Yeah.
And there are people who, I don't know if they have a lean towards traditional type thought process, but thinking this can't fail.
Yeah.
An expandable potentially could fail. And expandables have failed.
Well, that's the con of your expandable. If you hit that bone on that red stag like I did, it is stopping there.
Yeah.
But it's like you're not aiming for that anyway, and you shouldn't be hitting that anyway. And when you think about it, a two blade probably shouldn't go through there on a lighter poundage either. So like Kimmy shot a giant buffalo. She was shooting about 55 pounds at the time. She's got a solid one-piece broadhead, so a two-blade broadhead up front, that's 150 grains, and she was finding the far side of that bull when she shot it. And other bulls, she finds the far side of it, and that's with 55 pounds. So, like, for someone like Kim, and definitely Buffalo, you wouldn't do it, but you'd never be like, hey, use one of these massive, big expandables. So it is sort of weighing up what animal you're shooting, what poundage you're shooting. They would probably be the two bigger ones to be like. And as you said, if you were using a lighter poundage bow, probably that. But then again, mate,
I don't like, I've used them now for 3 years and killed, I'm not sure how many animals. I don't like when people say they knew this one person who shot this one animal and at 40 pounds and it zipped through past her.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you fucking didn't hit anything. Wind between the ribs on both sides, that can happen. So that's a sample of one. So I like to look at, I've had 3 seasons now. I would know positives, negatives pretty good. It's not, I'm not saying I have thousands of kills. We'd like thousands of kills for that sample size, but I have enough to where I haven't seen a failure. I've made less than perfect shots because not every shot I shoot is perfect. And I haven't lost an animal. So it's, that feels good. I mean, You said Kimmy's been finding the far side on multiple animals.
Yeah.
So you're pretty confident that what she's using is a good setup.
Yeah, very, yeah.
And tell me what it was again.
She's using a one
just like
broadhead like that. Yeah. No, none of the bleeders in there. So it's just like a straight cut through.
Designed for penetration.
Yeah. And like her bull's body was wider than her arrows by a good chunk. And she was going through one side of the buffalo, and the arrow wasn't exiting, as in like blowing through it, but it was sticking out the other side, hole in, hole out.
That's what a two-blade broadhead will do. That's what they're designed for. But that's also lighter poundage, lighter arrow. To me, that's exactly. If you have the higher poundage, heavier arrow, you can still get that penetration.
You're punching through
with more devastation delivered. Yeah, you know what I mean. But I get that, Iron Will is, and I love Bill from Iron Will. He's a very dedicated archer. I love what he's doing. I like he has a single bevel head, very tough, very rugged head. And so I see the appeal to that part. But to me, I'm weighing out, am I worried about penetration for myself? No. And I'm not sponsored by any broadhead manufacturer. I buy my broadheads because I care about the animal way more than I care about money, right? I just want to use what's going to help me achieve my bowhunting goals at the highest degree. And so for me personally, I'm not worried about penetration. So I'm going to use something that causes damage. I mean, the heads we were looking at tonight seem pretty damn impressive.
That video is.
This is Dale Perry.
Insane.
I remember he sent me some broadheads before, and I killed a bear with them. What was that one that I said? Do you remember what the name was? I said the one I used. He's got the Jekyll and Hyde, but it was.
Well, this is the Hyde. The one that you used to use was.
we watched the video. You had mentioned the video, but anyway, he's been in the broadhead game for a long time.
Yeah.
So these type of, I think he's from Arizona, these type of archery fanatics come up with just trying to tweak these designs. How can we make this more devastating and tougher? And so the test we saw on this one, and also on the Lusk archery tested it, and it was incredible.
This is what
the
I think
durability is amazing.
What I shot this hunt was the new G5 T2, which is like similar to a Rage 2-blade expandable.
Yeah.
What I like about this over that is that it has this fixed blade head at the top, and then it opens up into a 2-inch cut behind it. So you have a 3/4 inch cut at the top, and then you have 2 inches in the back. And he shot Lusk Archery. He shot this through MDX. He had incredible penetration through the ballistic gel.
Yeah.
So he has this layer of like rubber over the ballistic gel, and I think he got like 8 inches of penetration, even past that, even past the rubber into the ballistic gel, because this super sharp head at the top, and then it opens up this giant channel, still getting massive penetration because this thing opens and these pop open once it's through. So this thing makes the cut, and then these two open up behind it.
There's a pathway for it.
So he shot this through steel, through 22 gauge steel twice, didn't lose a blade, and then shot it into concrete, shot it into a cinder block.
And then spun tested it.
Yeah.
I don't even get
That's
that.
why I'm like,
Incredible.
I don't even get that. I've never seen a broadhead that. I mean, maybe a Montec. Haven't you shot a Montec?
Yeah, I shot a Montec into a concrate wall.
And that's like one solid
Yeah.
piece of steel.
Yeah.
But besides that durability that we saw on that video,
Incredible. Incredible. Especially for such a big cut.
yeah.
So I shot the G5 T2 because it's Dudley's, and I know he's already shot an elk with it and deer and a bunch of hogs, and I just wanted to shoot it for him. So I shot it, and it obviously had incredible results. But what I like about that over just a simple 2-blade is that even if something goes crazy and a blade breaks off, you still have that 3/4 inch fixed blade at the front, which according to the Lusk archery tests, you're getting more penetration than you are with any other expandable that he uses.
Yeah.
So that fixed blade at the top opens everything up, and then once it's opened up, boom, those two big ass blades. And I know Aaron Snyder likes those as well.
Yeah.
Another one that's really great is the Sever. Sever has a hybrid too that they do, but it's a little smaller cut. It's 1.5 inches in the back and a 3/4 in the front.
They have rubber bands you have to keep on the.
Yes,
I don't like that.
that's the downfall.
Yeah.
This does not have that, and this does not deploy in your quiver.
Right.
My problem that I had with Severs in the past is that you're sticking it in your quiver, you're seeing,
Yeah.
and so you have to be real careful not to push it in too hard because you're seeing the blades come out. It's a little clunky, but they decided that was the best for their design. I think this is what I want to go with next.
Yeah.
And they fly like darts. They fly like field points. And one thing that Lusk does that's so smart is he shoots through a crossbow. So, it's no possibility of like moving your arm funny and
wrist
So,
tweak.
yeah, right. So he shoots, the first thing he shoots, I think he does 30 or 40 yards, I forget. But he shoots a field tip, whap, right in the center, because he's using a scope. He's got a crossbow. And then the second shot, he shoots with the broadhead so you can get it. And it shoots very, very similar to where the field points go.
I wonder why he doesn't use a hooter shooter to shoot an actual compound bow.
I think because he just wants to see the flight of the actual head itself. So the best way to do that, if you don't have a hooter shooter, is to just shoot it with a crossbow. It's probably pretty similar if you're shooting on a rest.
Yeah.
Thing about a crossbow is just like I always say, a crossbow is like when someone says, "Oh, I bow hunt too. I use a crossbow." That's a shitty gun. You have a shitty gun. There's nothing wrong with shooting a shitty gun, but what you have with a crossbow, you have a shitty gun.
Yeah,
it's really good. It'll definitely kill an animal. Super effective. Way more accurate. You have a scope. It's way more accurate than a regular compound bow. But the reality is, it's not. You're not really bow hunting per se. You're kind of bow hunting. You're crossbow hunting. Let's just say that. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But because he shoots it through a crossbow, he knows he's getting the accurate flight.
Yeah. That's the most thorough test I've seen on broadhead.
He's the best, man. And he's got dozens and dozens of tests. He updates almost every day. He's got some new test, and he's got like a specific scoring protocol. He shoots through cardboard. That's the other thing about that. Shooting through cardboard, he got incredible penetration, layers of cardboard, like way more penetration than I've ever seen with other fixed blade or other rather mechanical heads.
Yeah, there's a thought too. I was just thinking that, with that cutting tip, you mentioned that big cut on Joe's bull. That's not a cutting tip on the head you used, right?
No.
So it might be pushing in the hide
Yes.
and cutting wider, whereas a cutting tip wouldn't do that.
Right.
It would cut. So it would, I wonder how that affects penetration in those tests. Because when you're cutting,
You're getting more penetration with this. Right. Yeah. But you probably won't get as wide an opening. But Aaron Snyder really likes these, and he says he has crazy wound channels.
animal, you'll get a bigger wound if it has to push in and cut.
Right.
But you need more energy to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if you have light poundage, it's going to suck up energy toward just pushing that high.
If you have light poundage.
Yep.
Right. But I'm shooting 80 pounds, and it went through the whole body cavity and hit the far side shoulder.
Yeah.
So it went through the entire.
I don't care what people come up with or what they decide on. I love the thought that goes into just believing in what you use.
Yeah.
To me, that's what makes, I'm not saying other things, other hunting endeavors don't do like rifle, muzzleloader, or whatever. But bow hunters obsess about these crazy details, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Because you might shoot something different than Adam. Adam might shoot, and we all believe in it to the highest degree.
Well, I've shot so many different heads too. I mean, I think I've shot the most bulls with either a Montec carbon steel. I've killed quite a few bulls with that.
Heads. They're sharp.
The one I shot on the Under Armour video, that was a Montec. But that did not leave a big brush. I mean, it zipped right through it, full pass through, killed it instantly. But it did not leave a big hole. It did not leave a lot of blood. The animal died right there. I mean, we got to see it wobble and then tip over. But if I hit that same spot with a Rage or with a T2 or with one of these Evolution Outdoor, it'd be a canal. Like it would be spraying blood all over the place.
Well, I don't think there's anybody that I know personally who's killed more animals than you have, Adam.
And I've done it all with a 2-blade broadhead.
I know, and I think you use the same setup for buffalo as you do deer, right?
Yeah, so I always say this, like the same arrow I'll shoot at a rabbit is what I shoot at a buffalo. And so I don't change anything. There's no sights changing. There's no weight changing or anything, just to stick to that. But that doesn't mean it's the best, and it's definitely not the best for everyone, but it's more like that culture in Australia. There's a bunch of Australian broadhead manufacturers that make a solid 2-blade broadhead. And it's what I cut my teeth on.
You guys all have quibbleizers.
All the quibbleizers.
You all have 2-blade broadheads. How come everybody has a quibbleizer?
They're just really popular over there, and they just suit the hunting.
What do you mean? Like how would it suit the hunting better than a side mounted?
Weight wise, for starters, obviously. So with the quibbleizer, it turns into your stabilizer.
Is it not? Like in the mountains, it's so windy. Is it not? Are you not facing winds?
I've never noticed it. Joe definitely noticed it on this trip shooting at the target.
Yeah.
We're in a weird spot.
We had that wind coming left to right pretty hard.
But that could be a hunting situation sometimes.
Yeah.
So I feel like it just doesn't work for you. But I've taken it off twice in like 8 years. And the twice that I've taken it off was both in really extreme wind though, when I really picked up on it. But you've got the 8-arrow quiver as well.
Yeah, I keep 7 arrows in.
So I've got...
It's a sail.
Yeah, so 5 arrows is obviously picking up less wind.
But all other years, I've used a 5-arrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. Last year, I started on Aaron Snyder's recommendation. I started the 8-arrow one last year. I kept like 7 arrows.
You recommend that?
Because he said you just hold so good because there's so much weight out there.
You get an extra weight out.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You have if you have 100 grain broadheads, you have 700 grains at the very front. That is like that weight. That's like I find it, if there's no wind, I find it very steady.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Option Archery make a side mount too. So if it was really windy, you can take the quiverizer off the front and clip it on the side. And I found that I just never took it off. And the 2 times that I did take it off, it was just sitting right beside me. I had
Right,
an
you
arrow on
wouldn't,
the rest.
because if you put it on the side, then you still have all that stuff that's going to catch wind.
Well, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And then, so even side quivers, like it was always nice to have a quick release one just in case it was really windy, but you start changing your bow. So you're changing the weight in your bow and what you used to shoot.
Right,
So
right.
if you took your quiverizer off and you're used to all that weight out the front, well, you may not shoot any better, but at least you're not doing that in the wind. So look, it really suits me. I think it's been promoted well in Australia as well, like options gear. And a lot of our terrain is open terrain. I originally, when Option Archery came out with the quiverizer, I thought, oh, this is going to be a bitch in the thick timber and going through there. And it's just like, in the way that you hold it, and that the fact that you're trying to shoot for a clear path, if you're taking a shot anyway, it's usually free, but there's pros and cons in everything.
In everything.
So one of the cons would be you are in the timber and say the best red stag of your life comes up and then starts walking to the side and there's a branch out there in front of your bow, like you're clear here and you go to move. Well, I haven't had that happen, but I'm not saying it's not going to happen on a once in a lifetime animal, but I just love it. I like a light bow. We've spoken about that a few times, like you guys like a heavy bow. I like a really light bow, and then the little weight that is out front is a big difference.
Well, Cam, you used to have that. Was that aim for a pass through? What is the name of his?
The mule.
The mule.
Yeah.
So the mule one has like a little rest, so you can carry it if you're hold the way that it has like this little thing that like
for your forearm.
Yeah, but then you would put an 8-inch stabilizer, or 6-inch,
Out the front of that.
an 8-inch on front of that.
Yeah.
Was it an 8-inch or a 6-inch?
I think it was 8.
So then you have 18 inches.
Yeah.
So you have a 10 and then an 8.
18 inches.
And that sucker is holding. And then you have a back bar that bounces out your quiver. And you keep your quiver solid mounted to the bow, the one that comes with the Hoyt.
Yeah,
That you screw into the riser. Yeah. And you keep 4 hours. 4 hours in there. Yeah. So, and you have it perfectly balanced like that. But then you decided that was too much trouble to carry around when you're flying.
Yeah. And it was, I don't know. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. I just set up a new bow and just had the other stabilizer on and started shooting that. So then I was used to that. But
it's funny that we all do have different setups.
Yeah.
Because when I first got here, you were saying that you take your sight off and bolt it on at the start of every trip that involves a flight, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't fit in your box. To me, I'm just like, oh my God, no.
Oh, really?
But obviously it works for you. It must go in exactly the same place every time. And you take a shot every time you get to camp.
Yeah, and I have little scratches where it mounts.
Okay.
But I mean, how it seats in there could be different. I mean, when we're talking like perfection, that's the goal. We want it perfect, but I shoot every time I get somewhere.
But also, don't you think with the Pickaninny mount, it's a little bit easier now?
Yeah, it's easier.
Yeah.
But it's just
That's a nice little advancement.
That's a nice
Like
thing.
they keep tweaking those little
It's also, instead of being on the right-hand side, now it's dead in the center.
What the balance?
what that has all done, and with the I got the side back bar offsetting the quiver. What we want is, as soon as we see an animal, as fast as we can get that side acquisition, that's how the better your bow is balanced, the quicker that's going to happen. Sometimes getting a shot is that. It's that quick. That's the difference between getting a shot and not getting a shot. So the quicker that pin can come up, you can get that peep in that sight housing and everything leveled up. The easier your bow balances, the faster that's all going to happen, and the faster that arrow's on its way.
Well, that also makes sense why you keep a quiver mounted permanently to your bow and you practice with arrows in that position.
Yeah.
So it's always the same weight. It's always right there. Because I know a lot of guys, they like to take their quiver off when they make a shot. A lot of guys got like a tight spot and they pop it off and they set it down when they make a shot. But sometimes you can't set it down.
No.
Sometimes there's no time for that.
And sometimes I'm running and trying to finish off an animal after I spine it.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to go back to the Broadheads with that Broadhead that you were shooting today. I don't know if you noticed, but I was trying to close up your bull's left side lung once we cut it out. I had both hands on the wound channel and I was trying to blow the lungs out to show Joe how much bigger they can actually get when they're inflated.
Yeah, this psycho
I
was
could
blowing
not-
a lung up.
Yeah.
I could not close that wound channel. And then I took my hand off and looked at it, and it was like that
Yeah.
through the lung.
Yeah. They're
So-
devastating for sure.
That's what makes it very tempting to try.
Yeah.
They're not going to go far if you hit them in the same place where you're hitting them anyway.
I wouldn't shoot a buffalo with one,
of course.
obviously, but that's like I say, you've got.
But then you're dealing with a rib that's like a 2x4.
Yeah.
It's just a different.
And
The
super
gap
thick
between
hide.
the ribs is half the distance of what the ribs are themselves. So they say if a buffalo looks at you and the ribs are all like curved, if a buffalo's broadside, it's like this, and if he turns and looks at you, the ribs all close up. So it's just like a
solid.
shield down that side.
It's like solid bone.
Yeah.
So you have to have something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a heavy arrow that's going to push through there. And that's where
I'm
I
sure.
think.
Look, I'm sure if enough people shoot a friggin' expandable broadhead at a buffalo, someone's going to kill one brilliantly.
Yeah.
But to consistently penetrate and kill a buffalo, no.
Yeah. That's
Right.
where that single bevel is key too, because it's pushing off that bone and it's still getting through
Yeah.
there, even when that's essentially sealed up when it's slightly.
I used to
quartered.
It's
always
rotating.
say
Yeah.
that for a 2-blade broadhead to split a rib, so pretend my fingers are a rib, it only has to split a rib that wide
Right.
for a 2-blade broadhead to fit through there. And then let's pretend these are a more solid 4-blade broadhead. For it to split a rib, it's got to open a rib that wide.
And is that why the bleeders are so thin?
Yeah.
To take into consideration a rib.
And then I've always liked micro diameter shafts because I've shot animals before, and it was a buffalo in this case, but it was back when we shot friggin' all aluminium arrows, and they're a lot thicker. And it was a broken arrow because of the way that it went into the buffalo. The broadhead lodged in the far side and it snapped. And I remember pulling the arrow out, and the rib was held so tightly on the arrow that there was nothing in front of it, and it was hard to get the arrow out. And I kept thinking, micro diameter shafts also make that distance where it's easier for them to slide through a wound channel. Right?
Well, here's an example. Cam
Less
and I
friction.
shoot the exact same poundage, and we basically have a similar draw length. And when we're shooting in my backyard, and he uses the micro diameter arrows, in the actual target itself, his was going at a solid 3 or 4 inches deeper than my arrows were. That was when I was using those the carbon ones, which it's a little bit different because the carbon does give you a lot of friction when you're impacting foam.
I think they were 5 mil, weren't they?
Yes,
Yours and mine
and
are
yours
4.
are 4.
So yeah, you got a millimeter of friction over 20.
But also, you were using
inches.
the FMJs, the deep sixes, right?
No, well, at that time,
At that time.
might have been,
And that
they slide a
aluminum
little better.
slides better,
Yeah, they
especially
do.
through foam. So it's not perfectly, but there's no denying that a thinner arrow is going to get more penetration.
Yeah, it could
It's
be
also
the
going to
difference.
drift through the wind less, for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to have less resistance to wind. And you were, I remember thinking that, like, man, should I switch over? Because you were getting a good 3 or 4 inches deeper, both shooting the same poundage.
Yeah.
And my draw length is actually an inch longer than yours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is kind of crazy.
Isn't it fun tweaking and getting
Yeah.
everything as good as you can without turning it into a rifle?
Yeah.
We just keep tweaking and tweaking what we've got, and it's all for a more peaceful kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be more consistent at
Yeah.
killing game as peaceful as possible.
Well, also, as good as the Hoyt that I shot this year, which is the Hoyt that you shot last year, as good as that bow is, you were saying that your new one is so much better that
don't
you would
wanna
be
shoot
a
my old one.
little freaked out shooting your old one, which is crazy.
Because they're making me, I can't show the new one. So, like for my little daily videos, I got to shoot my old one. And I'm like, I don't want to shoot this fucking bow.
Which is so crazy that they're able to
Yeah.
do that every year,
Yeah,
to consistently make these
Wow.
incremental improvements.
Yeah.
That just like this year, the bow that I'm shooting this year is better than the bow I shot last year.
Yeah.
And the bow I shot last year, I was like, damn, Hoyt's incredible. How are they? And then I got the new one, I was like, oh. And it's so dead in the hand.
Yeah.
When the shot breaks, it's like, it feels no vibration. It's just, it just fires off so beautifully. And it's so quiet. And yours is quieter. Like every year, there's just a titch, just a little bit
I
better.
did notice that, like standing down range, and that, like your bow's super quiet still, but then that's on another level again, where it's like, okay,
Crazy.
nothing's hearing this coming.
It's crazy.
That's where I'm like, I put thought into having all that weight, because I in my head, a heavier bow is going to be quieter, a heavier arrow is going to be quieter. Those vanes, that low profile 4 vanes, those AAEs, they fly quieter. It's always about what's going to make a more effective killer.
Yeah.
You know, because the more effective you are, the more peaceful that death is for the animal. And that's the only motivation. I'm not big on target. I don't really care about stuff like that. It's just about hunting. And that's what this discussion and this tonight, basically every discussion we've had at camp has been about bow hunting and equipment, essentially.
Yeah.
And the hunt and butchering animals and the meat. And I do want to say that we took our meat in to get processed at Frotton's there in Evanston, Wyoming. Great people, great family-owned business. So nice.
They do an amazing job, too.
They do an amazing job. Their snack sticks, they're everything they do. But aside from that, we weighed the meat. That's a big pride I have, and like, I kill for the meat. I mean, that's, you know, it's yes, it's a challenge, but this is what I live off of. And same with you guys, I know this. But so getting that meat weighed, and I had 386 pounds of hanging meat in there. They said that's the heaviest quartered out bull they've had. That just tells me that we did a great job cleaning it. And you had very similar, you had 326 without the backstraps and the tenderloin. So we had essentially, and that just, to me, that's a good sign that we took every piece of edible meat off those animals.
Your bull was so clean that I could take a photo from inside the cavity out through the chest.
Those photos are incredible. That photo was amazing.
Clean.
I wish James could take photos like that.
But he's
Sucks.
he's just not up to the task.
Yeah, it's like, it is an endless discussion of like tweaking and constantly trying to improve every single aspect of bow hunting. Everything from releases. I'm always fucking around with different releases.
No, you're like, I got the wise guy. I've never shot better. This is what I'm using. This is a perfect one for hunting. And we show up here, it's just like, wait.
I told you, I started getting a little punchy. I started getting a little, ooh. And then I switched to that Onyx clicker.
I got a lot of animals in my studio that have died by punching.
Oh yeah, punching's super effective. Well, the thing is, like, you're so calm under. Also, I think there's a real benefit to having the kind of cardio that you have. I think you're able to keep your heart rate low. I really do believe that, because I think your cardio is so fucking insane that your control over your heart rate is way better than most people. And I think also you have so much more experience than most people shooting animals, and especially like great animals and even long distances. Like you said, you shot that beautiful elk in Colorado. Like, how far was that?
I didn't say.
It was a good distance, but a reasonable distance for a band of your caliber. But I think you can stay calm, where some people, they're going to flinch when they know it's going to go off. It's the anticipation. You don't budge. I saw the video of you shooting that elk, and it's just, everything's just rock solid. And the idea that you can't do that, that's the other thing about like this mentality that it has to be a surprise shot. This is another mind fuck that people go back and forth with. And you know, you have guys like Kyle Douglas and Tim Gillingham who do what they call command shoot.
Right.
So they shoot just like you shoot a rifle, where you stay steady and you slowly squeeze the trigger and you make it go off when the pin is over the target. And there's people that'll tell you cannot do that.
Right.
And the only reason they tell you that is because people flinch. And they anticipate it and they flinch. But Gillingham always says that it's a mental strength issue. That it's just you have to stay calm and keep it together. But you clearly, look, how many fucking championships has that guy won?
Yeah, I know.
And you could say all day he's doing it wrong. Like, no, he won. He did it right. He won. He's winning.
Did he win the wrong way?
I've seen his groups at 120 yards. They're bonkers.
Yeah.
He's shooting a baseball-sized group at 120 yards. Like, you can't say that's wrong.
No.
It's just, there's no right way. The right way to do it is, does it work?
Yeah.
Is it consistent? Can you repeat it?
Yeah.
I do think there's a difference between tournament shooting, where the paper and it's not moving and you got as much time as you want. I think that's different than hunting.
Yes. But then you got guys like Levi Morgan who hunts with a hinge,
Yeah.
and he's one of the best ever.
Yeah.
I don't like thinking about it.
Well, you know, I point to Adam. He's killed so much. He uses the wise guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And why don't you shoot a back tension arrow?
The wise guy works for me. Caliper index finger works for me. And I don't have a process. I just do it. And that's why I don't like thinking about it. Because if I start thinking about it, like, I'll be like, oh,
I know.
But it's just like my finger's already sitting on the trigger, and it's really not. It's not even the tip of my finger. It's just that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the roll in it, but it's also not squeezing. It's like I'm solid on the animal.
Yeah.
Everything's lined up without saying any of that to me, and it's just.
Dude, if you're shooting Vegas, if you're shooting those 3 targets, and you're doing that over and over again, that is such a mind fuck. That is such a mind fuck of this wins, this loses.
Yeah.
This wins, this loses.
Right.
That is so different than hunting.
Yeah.
It's also it's not moving and you're not moving and you're on a line and you have the exact same distance as everybody else. It's a totally different. It's like free throws versus shooting in an actual basketball game.
Right.
Where you're running around and moving and you have
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the difference, right?
I started shooting at home when I'm practicing. Like, so I shoot and I'll have a dot or a line on the target, but I'll take that away and just have a blank area on the target, and I'll shoot like more like an animal. Like when you don't have a nice crease or a puff of hair or a different color to shoot at. I like doing that. I think it's really good training as well because it's very similar to an arrow.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm looking there and you've got to really concentrate to see where the arrow hits too. And obviously once you put one arrow in, you've got somewhere else to aim at. But it's like, it's a very interesting test on yourself because an animal doesn't have a beautiful big black dot where you want to hit, right?
Isn't it interesting too that once you shoot an arrow into a spot, even if it's like a long distance, you start grouping where that arrow is.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at that arrow.
Right.
That's the mind fuck. It's like you're looking at the target, but you're really looking at that one very specific dot where that arrow is. And somehow or another, when there's an arrow already there, it tends to make you more accurate.
Yeah, for sure.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like you're looking, you want the arrow to go where that other arrow is, instead of like, if you have a target, like an elk target, a foam target, and you know, you there's the ring that you really can't see at like 75 yards. You don't see, but you know where it is. You know where the leg is. And once an arrow goes into a spot, the other arrows want to go right there.
Well, that's why, like in the tournaments, you want to be the last shooter because you got an arrow to aim at.
Right.
And that's why in those tournaments, like what Levi does, they'll shoot all black fletch, black knock, black arrows because they don't want to give anybody else something to aim at.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, but that's because it makes a huge difference.
Right.
You got something to focus on and put your pin on.
Right.
Way different. That's why picking that spot on that animal, bear are tough. Bear black, they don't have that crease. Elk are a little easier. They got that crease. I think a lot of people make the mistake of getting too close to the crease because the targets kind of lead us that direction where we have known for years. But, you know, these lungs, they go way back. You know, and that was when you blow them up, they are even bigger. But you need to get away from that shoulder.
Yeah.
Definitely get away.
You know, another thing about that is something that I was using for a little bit, but I had to stop using, and it's actually illegal to use in Utah, is the Garmin Rangefinder sight. And that one day is going to be the shit.
Yeah.
One day it's going to be the shit. Right now it's not. Because now, like I shot a Neil guy in South Texas, and it was at 52 yards or something like that, somewhere around that range. And I drew back and I hit the button and I didn't get a pin. And I hit the button again and I didn't get a pin. I'm at full draw and this animal's broadside and I hit it a third time and I finally got a pin and blap. And I made a perfect shot and it died. It was perfect pass through. But the sight picture is amazing because the sight picture is clear glass with a red LED dot, exactly where you're going to shoot.
Yeah.
That is the shit.
Yeah.
And the range is built in. So if one day they're going to get it perfect. Like right now it's not perfect, I've had problems in my backyard. In my backyard, shooting at a foam target where there's no variables, and I couldn't get a range. I pull it back, couldn't get a range. And I had one that just didn't work as good. I had one that worked really good, and then my new bow, I got a new sight, and it didn't work as well. I'm like, what the fuck? I upgraded the software, the whole thing. But if they get it dialed, and look, I love Garmin products. I have a Garmin watch on. I love Garmin products. They make awesome products. But that thing is like, in concept, it's fucking amazing. Because first of all, it shows you the flight of the arrow, right? And it also shows you whether or not you're level. So instead of having to look at your bubble, when it's level, it indicates it on the screen. And you just have that one dot. You don't have a post. You don't have like a bunch of posts that are sitting in the way. The sight picture is amazing. It's just in the heat of the moment, if you're thinking, I might not get a pin. Like, I didn't get a pin.
Yeah.
I didn't get a pin. I didn't get a pin.
It almost becomes too many turning cogs, right?
Yeah, but you have to use a rangefinder, right? So if you like, they made it illegal in Utah last year, and that's why I didn't use it here last year. I was still using it, but after I couldn't use it here, I said, you know what? I don't want that variable. I don't want the possibility of it going wrong. I'm going to set that aside. But I have hope for that product in the future, because when it did work, it was incredible. The sight picture is so nice when it's a red dot, like a pistol. So you see that dot, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do this and put your rangefinder down and then do that.
Sight.
Yeah, you don't have to do it. There's 3 steps you don't have to do.
Yeah.
And then the sight picture's so much better. But it's just not quite there yet.
The next model is going to have Starlink.
But I think also the thing is, people think it makes it too easy. They think
It's the same aspect. Like you just said, you already got a rangefinder on you.
right.
So now it's built into the site.
It's better.
Yeah.
It's better if it works perfectly. Because and Hoyt has one, right? They have actually a Hoyt model Garmin site that Hoyt actually Zach actually turned me onto it, because Zach from Hoyt used it. But to not have to do this and it's just going to make more effective kills. You're going to have better shots. It's going to be less wounded animals. It's not going to make you. It's not an unfair advantage. It's all the same things that you have with a bow and a rangefinder and a sight tape, except it's all built into the sight.
It is streamlined.
It's streamlined, and it would if it's done right. I think in the future it's going to be the best possible. If it's done, it has to be just better than it is now.
Yeah.
But once it is better than it is now, it's going to be the solution, because you won't have to do this thing like this, and also the animals don't. And also, if the animal moves, you just hit it again.
Yeah.
And you get a perfect dot again.
It might be
moves
where
off, you hit it again.
It might be where they don't allow that, just like they don't, like in some states, not sight lights and things like that.
Well, they don't allow it here now.
Yeah.
It used to be legal in Utah.
So regardless of how good it gets, it's maybe it will never be approved for bow hunting, because they want to keep it more traditional.
Right. I shot 3 animals with it, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. No, 4, because I shot 2 whitetail, a nilgai, and an elk with it. It was awesome. But the one time that it didn't work with that nilgai, where 2 times I ranged it, and no pin. And then finally got a pin. And then this is all while this animal is out in the open feeding, and I'm 52 yards away at full draw. And it's like, come on, this is...
Yeah.
And I'm shooting 90 pounds.
Yeah.
Fucking holding this thing. Oh, come on.
My friend Campbell's got one. It's failed on him a couple of times, so it's turned me off.
It's not ready yet.
Yeah.
But when it is ready, I hope they don't make laws to outlaw it, because it's just going to lead to less wounded animals. It's going to lead to better. It's still hard to make. A 65-yard shot is a 65-yard shot. It's fucking hard to do. But if you have a better sight picture, and I think it's a better sight picture with that red dot, it's just, there's nothing in the way that messes with you. And there's less of a step. You don't have to do that. 2 steps. That, and you don't have to pin gap.
Yeah.
And then the other thing about it is that I really like is that if you do have a moving animal, there is the option of pressing a button and you get fixed points. So you have a bunch of dots, and there's like green, red, green, red, green, red. So you have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, or whatever you have it set at. That's a nice option too. It's just not quite ready yet. But that's the thing, like, oh, is it an unfair advantage? I still think it's hard to make an archery shot on an animal.
Yeah.
It's hard. And anything that lets you make a more effective shot that's going to have less wounded animals. Like, say if you're at full draw and you have a spot hog, if you have a hog father, like the single pin, like you used to shoot, right?
Yeah.
And an animal moves and you have to kind of guess a little. And so you hold high because you think it moved off about another 5 yards. So you go like a little higher, especially with a heavy arrow. Like you've got there's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
This thing, it's like you put in your arrow weight, you put in the speed of the arrow, you put in all these variables inside the program, and the battery lasts forever. It's just not quite there yet.
It's all the updates, changes, new tweaks. Maybe sticking with the old that I've always used, like you have. You know, I mean, maybe that's the answer, but it's fun to discuss it.
Yeah, but like, look at you. You went from fixed blades to the carnivore because you found out it's more effective.
I'm slow to change. I mean, I shot blazers for a long time, and then, I shot 5-inch vanes for a long time because I was like, I'm not shooting those little blazers.
What's 5-inch?
And then it took forever to switch to the blazers, and then shot those for a long time, and then shot the same trocars for a long time. I don't like changing.
It's hard to change what you know and what works.
And what's been
working.
working.
It doesn't mean that's the best.
No.
But yeah, it's hard to change.
Well, once you have confidence, and you try something new, then the mind fuck comes in. Like, oh my God, what did I do? And one of the things that I was thinking when I shot my elk yesterday, the only thing that I think could have gone wrong is, what if a blade broke off?
Yeah.
Because I had a blade break off on a Rage hypodermic no collar. I had one blade break off once, and I was like, what if it breaks off? But I saw Lusk Archery did one of those durability tests with that G5 T2, and it performed amazing. Shot through the MDX, shot through steel. The ends of the tips got snapped off when I shot it through steel. But I'm like, but that's steel. You know, that's not bone. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
So I was pretty confident, and it worked out great. But the mind fuck while we're sitting there in the rain for 2 hours, like, what if a blade broke off?
I know.
Because you don't know. Whereas if I had some real stout fixed blade, that wouldn't even be in the equation. It would be, did it do its job?
Yeah.
You know, did it hit where I thought it hit? Did it go through the vitals? So it's like there's so many different things that could lead to you mind fucking yourself if you change something.
And people will listen to this and be like, those guys are idiots. Why don't they use that? You know, I mean, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, we care. We're passionate about it. Just like the listeners will be passionate about what they use.
Yeah.
And that's great. It doesn't.
And it's fun tinkering. Like when this is your passion, it's fun tinkering. It's fun.
Well, some guys like to use like 7 pins.
Yeah. They made that site because of me.
Yeah.
I mean, I said, Spot Hog, they had 5, went out to 60, 20 through 60. And I'm like, I need more pins. You know, I was hunting. I wanted to shoot further, at least practice further. And they're like, okay, we'll make you 7, but probably nobody's going to buy it. And
it went mental.
Yeah, it was the 7 Deadly Pins. And it's play on 7 Deadly Sins. And they sold, I don't know how many, a lot. But now then it's switched to the single pin. And now it's like the single post with 3 pins, or you have the option, or that which one?
The option 8.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
once they started having movable pins with our Archer's Advantage, that changed everything, right?
It made people, I think, it made me, I can't speak for everybody, a lot more accurate.
Yeah.
I could dial in the yardage, and I could hold right on instead of pin gap, or like hold high, whatever. And I didn't have those 7 pins blocking my sight window, blocking the animal that I was shooting at. I just had the one, and I could just dial right on. 62 yards, hold right on. That made me way more accurate than having something else.
Yeah. But there's a lot.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I can't wait till the next time we all can hunt together. It's been an amazing trip. I love you guys.
I love you guys too.
I've missed you. I'm glad to.
No, the second I seen you, I'm like, holy shit, it's been too long.
I know.
Long.
I just think that I remember Hoyt telling me, we want you to maybe do you want to go hunt with Adam Greentree? He's like the Cameron Hanes of Australia. I'm like,
Except he doesn't run. He's really good looking.
but we had great hunts, and this is no different than, of course, Joe. I mean, you know, you're like a brother to me. I love you. Thank you. I do want to thank Tom Land and Wild Country for this opportunity.
Yeah, they're awesome people.
If you know, we talk about coming next year, and like, there's no guarantee that it's going to happen. So I'm just things change. But man, just feel blessed that we had this hunt. I want to thank Tom and it's just an opportunity for this year, and feel very grateful for you guys too.
Thank you, brother.
I feel the same way about you guys.
Thanks for the discussion. All right.
A lot of fun.
Remembering, guys.
Every step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use. Every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom. I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with. Giving my blood, so I am relentless. My fault. They want someone to blame. They sent their hate. It fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough. I am the change, the fuel in dirt. Feeling like Cam Hanes. Oh, give me the Mars nobody wants. I'll give you my heart. I'll carry it to work. Give me that impossible task. I'll give you that unbreakable curse.